But like
Wake
her,
up.
like her, especially.
It's time for
like,
Primal
she drinks,
Scream.
She's all over my ass about being naked.
Do you think that should we get into it? We could just start talking. And welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And today we got Rocky with us. Woo!
Ow! And yes, he would clearly say he's bringing us back to our roots, since we have all these great, famous people on, and now we have him back because he needs to ground us.
Yep, I'm back. You know, I'm.
Shut up.
And we're gonna have to remind him you had to be closer to the mic.
Yeah.
I am the consolation guest. Nobody better to have on. Let's call Rock up. And, hey,
we were talking about
you know
tonight.
what, that's
I don't
okay.
know. Do you want to call Rob and see what happens? I don't know.
He's gonna be pulling a plane here coming up, aren't you? Are you gonna be pulling a plane?
Indeed, I will be.
And you're going to be helping out at Are you going to be helping out at CrossFit 2.2, their powerlifting? Are you going to sign up for that?
No, actually, I think there's some people from my gym who are going to participate in that, but I'm not going to be one of them.
Why not?
Because I just don't want to. You know, I don't want to compete in Olympic lifting. I feel like it's something I'd really have to work and train for. And
You'd want to be good if you did it.
Yeah, I want to.
You wanted to try your best.
Give it all I got.
Because see, our coach is like, "Oh, you should all just do it. You should all do it.
I want everybody
to do it." And I was like, I might be able to clean, 215 pounds. It's like, so it's like, is that worth it?
It's not like you're just walking in saying, "Hey, I'm here." You're paying money.
But yeah, plus I think you got to pay for it. I'm not big on paying to work out, Yeah. So that's just me. But
yeah,
because hard drive, you're getting in there.
Yeah, Keone's very nice. He hooks me up. So, what I do is I try to clean the mats whenever I go in after I'm done, just so I can do something for the guy. But, I'm fortunate to have some good friends who own some gyms here in the area, so I don't have to pay too much. I do pay the anvil a little something, but it's not much.
How's your jiu-jitsu coming? Is it better? Is it going pretty good?
The other night, Bo, one of the fighters at Hard Drive, made a comment to him across the room saying, "Hey, you're getting a lot harder to keep control over." And Bo is a good fighter, so that's pretty awesome. I thought that was a nice comment.
Bo's an excellent fighter, and he's an excellent jiu-jitsu artist. Yeah, he knows his stuff, that's for sure. But I just really enjoy jiu-jitsu. I'm not a master by any means, but it's something I like to do 2, maybe 3 days a week. And just, diversify my workouts. And it's such a different type of workout that you're not going to get in a gym anywhere. And if you do, it's just like anything. If you do it and you do it, you keep doing it, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
And, especially if you're observant and when you're sitting out and not actually going and you watch guys who are good go at it. That's what I like to do. I sit there and I'll watch Keone, I'll watch Bo, and I'll look at what they're doing and try to think, okay, how can I apply that in the next round that I go here in 5 minutes?
Right.
It's really fun. It's just a hobby. It's nothing I'm going to get full bore into, but it is fun.
I need to get a hold of Bo because the last time that I was at Hard Drive, which was months ago, wasn't it? Seems like it.
It was cold. I remember that.
It was really cold.
It was snowy.
I brought my kids. Well, I talked to Bo, or Bo had said, me and my buddy would really like to try a sports podcast because the one we listen to sucks.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk to him and say, hey, you could just come in, get your buddy, come on in, use the equipment and try it out.
I'll see him tomorrow. I'll drop a line. Let's see what he says.
And I need to give you cash for the trunks for advertisement. Because I didn't drop the cash.
For Jared?
For Jared.
Was it even on his trunks?
I didn't notice. The trunks were white and had silver lettering, so you couldn't even read them. So I don't even know if it was on there.
You know what? I
don't know if it was on there or not. I'm just saying I don't even know if it's on there.
Okay.
We could find out. I could shoot him a text message.
It's one of those things where I told him I would, and if he did, even if the trunks didn't come out the way that he wanted it, I still feel obligated.
If it was on there, sure.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't on there,
Yeah. And, God, that kind of... Congratulations to Jared Devenise Downing for the birth of his twins.
Yeah, that's pretty
Are
awesome.
They... I don't know anything about it. Boy, girl?
They're
both boys?
They're identical boys.
Oh.
Identical.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
But one of them has a very distinct mole on his forehead, so they can tell them apart pretty easily. So,
Nice.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah.
God, it's horrible. My first thought is just like, oh, shit. Twin boys. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be wonderful young men. I'm sure my brother's kid's going to be wonderful young men too.
Are they identical
I'm
boys?
just like, my brothers?
Yeah.
No, they're not, but they're twin. Was it fraternal? They're identical?
Fraternal. If they're not identical, then fraternal. 2 separate eggs.
Okay. So I just am like, just 2 boys at one time. 2 babies at one time. I'm just like,
Oh yeah, because they're gonna have their own
cow.
they're gonna have their own language, and they're gonna
Beep bop deep bop boop bop. Was it that kind of
I don't know. Is that twin language?
I don't know.
That sounds really fucking
Sounds
crazy.
like a robot.
I didn't know twins had languages.
Hey,
Oh yeah, I mean, supposedly they can like think each other's thoughts, like think ahead of each other, kind of, and finish each other's sentences and crazy shit like that.
are we gonna do a little current events? You want to talk a little current events?
Yeah, why don't you start us off?
All right.
Since you're all over it.
Well, the only thing that I really had, which was kind of current event, was I got on Reddit the other day, and there was this video of a sperm whale,
Exploding.
and so I thought, hey, yeah, I'll watch a sperm whale. What could go wrong?
That's so gross.
So if you haven't seen this, go to YouTube, type in sperm whale.
Off the Norwegian coast.
Exploding sperm whale. Now the funny thing is so this guy has this big hook knife on a pole, and he looks like is it Gordman's fish sticks? Yeah. He looks like that guy. He's got all this slick stuff on, and he's cutting the blubber. He's getting into this whale, and it starts to look like a basketball which has been overinflated.
Right,
the
splits.
little balloon starts to come out, and you're just waiting for it. But I didn't realize how completely explosive this was going to be. The funny part is, a couple seconds after it explodes, some guy walks out with a Dixie cup of like coffees, and he's just standing there like, another exploded whale. I mean, I can't imagine the stench of that thing exploding. I mean, you have entrails that shot across the parking lot and hit a trailer.
Right.
Wow.
And and he's just standing there.
But espresso kills the nerves in my nose.
Intestines hit the wall again. Crazy.
I'm gonna check that
What
one
I
out.
wondered was, how can it happen? I mean, don't they have mouths and blowholes and things like that? How come they sealed up to the point where they could contain that much gas and there would be no soft spot?
Yeah,
that
but
it wouldn't.
you've seen animals on the side of the road just balloon up crazy.
Well, that's true. I'm just wondering how they don't find the gas doesn't find a way out through
An orifice or
something. Yeah, some kind of orifice.
It is kind of crazy, but that was really sick.
Yeah, it was
sick
really good. And I saw some, right, of course, once you watch one, there's like 5 that pop up. And there was one where they did the same thing, but they didn't explode. Small organs just started popping out. And so like the intestines were like unrolling, coming out of the hole. And I was like, that's fucked up.
What was that?
That was another whale thing. They were cutting
Jesus.
it open and it was just kind of pushing the organs. The pressure was pushing the organs out. So that's like intestines were like unrolling and unraveling outside the body. It was just kind of like disgusting.
Have you guys seen any? Do you have anything else? Do you have any current events?
I have current events. Is
Okay.
that your only one? Is the exploding whale?
I was going to talk about Ron Paul.
Go ahead.
And his comments about Ukraine. Have you?
I have not
kept
been
up on that at all?
No, I have not.
Well, your boy Ron here. Excuse me. I really dig his point of view on a lot of this stuff, and
Especially foreign affairs. It's a big one.
he really seems. I don't really hear a whole lot of this type of rhetoric from anybody else.
Just because he's a libertarian, and
Are there no other libertarians in?
I mean, you won't find him on TV in the mainstream. They kind of try to shut out any party that's not Democrat or Republican.
He says the truth is the coup of several weeks ago to overthrow the elected leader was stirred up by the same group, NATO, the European Union, the U.S., and the IMF. He's basically saying we stay out. We don't need to be entrenched in this.
Sure.
And if there's anybody to blame, it's us for this even starting.
Right. Our founders, especially George Washington, in his outgoing address, warned against getting involved in entangling alliances and getting involved in the affairs of other countries. And, we've obviously drifted very far away from that advice, but it's good, sound advice. And, he's one that still sees the wisdom in those words. I agree with him wholeheartedly. I don't think we need to be the policemen of the world. We don't have to get involved in every civil war that's happening. in every little country. We don't need to be the arbitrator.
Plus, it diminishes us. I mean, how is Russia? How are we ever going to say, "Hey, you guys shouldn't do that"? When that's all we do.
Did John Kerry kind of?
We all do that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things where it just diminishes any kind of moral standing we would have in any of the situations to even talk about it. That's the whole point. I'm just like, oh God, don't even fucking talk about it because we have no footing.
And whether you're talking Democrat or Republican, they both agree on the interventionist foreign policy of getting involved in these skirmishes that don't have nothing to do with U.S. interests or security, because Obama has showed that he's going to get involved in these things, and obviously the Republicans show that they're going to get involved militarily in skirmishes that have nothing to do with us. So both parties are in agreement on this type of foreign policy, and the fact that both parties have control over the system pretty much means that nothing's really going to change as far as that's concerned.
And that we're going to continue getting involved in things that really is none of our business.
Right. So like the point of view that you just read from Ron Paul of staying out of the foreign affairs of other countries is never going to take hold as long as the Democrats and the Republicans are the only two options on the ballot.
Well, it just seems like that's what we want to do.
Right.
It doesn't feel like anymore like we don't want to go to war with places or we don't want to get involved.
The people.
Well, I mean, it stopped. I mean, listen, the people stopped the last thing from happening.
Syria.
Yeah. I mean, people stood up for that and they backed off.
Yeah, that's so true because what's his name? Obama was going to go ahead and go in there and do something about it.
What's his name?
The
president.
But there was huge opposition. Like all the scientific polls said 90% of Americans, no matter what party you are, regardless of the party, says, hey, no, we don't want to get involved in Syria. That's pretty strong numbers. And so, if you remember, he went to Congress and tried to get them to say it's okay to go.
Right.
Typically he would just go on his own.
And you wonder why that doesn't work in other areas. Because you get like people who want to have legitimate background testing or stuff for guns, right?
Yeah.
In the 60s and 70s. You have other areas that have to do with other big, huge issues. You have the population saying, these are kind of they make sense to us. But then you have politicians that they're so gerrymandered into where they're at, they don't have to do anything they want. They're just owned by other people. So it's like, even though the people want something, it doesn't change. I mean, that's the biggest issue. And I think that's why the only way things are going to change is if we have, term limits and financial, separation between, campaigns and people, but the Supreme Court just made sure that that's not going to.
Oh, really? Did they just rule on something?
Another ruling that says that one person can give unlimited amounts of money to unlimited amounts of campaigns.
Why not? Why shouldn't somebody be able to do with their own money what they want?
Because then you own one person. So if GE allegedly owns Obama and they have $9 billion, they can outbuy the three of us.
Is the problem the fact that they're able to give money to Obama, or the fact that Obama has powers that are extraordinary outside what the executive branch is supposed to have in the first place?
Well, I'm just talking about in general. I'm just saying politicians in general can be bought by somebody else,
sure,
and be owned by somebody, and so they're begrudging to do exactly what they want because they gave them all the money they need, and so I think that's part of the problem.
Well, and you and I have seen just the tiniest little example in our own lives just recently when we were thinking about sponsorship, and advertisement, and wondering, okay, will we get this person to give us money to advertise for them if they like what we're saying, or if they don't like what we say, so that's just scratching the surface of something, and we're talking about politicians who have millions of dollars given to their campaigns. I mean,
because what if a sponsor came and said, "Hey, I like you guys. I like the sounds of your voice. I like how you guys have things set up.
We're going to give you $2 million.
We're going to give you $1 million. We want you to talk about these things.
I want you to have the NRA.
Oh, it could be anything. It could have anything on the back. Yeah, it could have anything in the background. But we're going to pay you $1 million, so...
I said the NRA because I didn't think that you would be like, oh, yay, sponsor that.
I'm just saying anybody who could buy our podcast, we would have to be willing to sell it. You know what I mean? And that's the first thing we talked about. was,
Yeah.
we're not willing to change content. We're not willing to do what we're doing, period. But
again,
listen, I mean, if he came in and said, hey, $1 million a piece for you guys each year to do this video blogging podcast, are you down with that? You and I would have to have a long discussion. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't think it'd be too long. You probably just go ahead and do it.
But then somebody else has bought our product. I mean, so we have to be willing to sell ourselves, and I think that's what politicians, they're deciding whether they're going to sell their souls or not. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
And most of them do.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is government has grown so big, and it's got power over so much of our lives that it's not supposed to have. It's got extraordinary power that they were not intended to have. Our Constitution limited the government, very restricted them to very specific powers. And obviously, in the past 200 some years, they've grown and usurped powers way outside the bounds of that Constitution. So therefore, since they do have these powers, the lobbyists will go in there and try to get them to bend the rules in their favor, into their interest, by throwing money at them.
So it'd be a moot issue then, because if the Constitution was followed like it should be, people wouldn't be buying politicians anyways, because they wouldn't have the power to yield
If the
in the first place.
To make those changes.
If Congress followed and only had the powers that were explicitly given to them within the Constitution, lobbyists there would be no lobbyists, because there'd be nothing to lobby for.
Right.
And there would be no Federal Reserve.
True. Yeah, there'd be no Federal Reserve, but there'd be no special favors to hand out, because government would not have the power to intervene in the economy. They wouldn't have the power to set rules and regulations for business. There would be nothing for lobbyists to lobby for. They would have to live or die based on how well they serve the customer. They can't get government to bend the rules in their favor if the government stayed within the limits of the Constitution and did not, intervene in everything that is basically conceivable in our lives.
You wonder if corporations or a corporation could get as big as the government could. I have this game on my, it made me think of it a little bit ago. I had this game on my phone called Orbit, and it's a super simple game. It's the only game on my phone.
Is it not Flappy Birds?
I don't have any games on my phone besides this Orbit. And all it is literally is it's just the screen, and you can touch the screen, and it makes small circles. And if you hold your finger down, it'll make a bigger circle. So as long as you hold your finger down, the circle will be larger. And then if you just tap the screen, it puts other little dots, and then they start orbiting the bigger dots. And so you can just make
this is a game?
It's supposed to be kind of a game. I thought it was just kind of different. But you can turn it on and off when you can turn one of the settings on, so that when you come back to the screen, the objects start attracting the little balls. So it's almost like gravitation has been pulled in.
Sure.
You wonder at what point these, and so of course the bigger the ball, the more gravitational pull it has, the more balls it pulls into it. What if Apple just starts buying everything? What if Apple slowly, purchases Samsung and then Nokia, and then all they are is one big, huge fucking thing that controls absolutely everything?
Isn't that kind of where we're heading?
I just don't know. We talked in the past about how big a corporation can get. I mean, how can you always have unbounded growth every year? So you're always cutting, or you're always,
Well, certain economists are like, no, it's completely unrealistic to believe that you can have constant growth.
But stock shareholders are wanting to see that constant growth.
Yeah,
every
and
year.
We've said many times that that law about shareholders being able to sue the CEO if the CEO, Anyway, I won't say it again.
Hey, I was going to tell you about this book I'm reading right now. It's called American Gods.
Your mother, and how was she last night? Is that the name of the book?
I said it was American Gods.
Oh, okay, American Gods. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's based off of this. It's the guy who traveled around the United States writing this book. And so he puts real places in it, kind of in America. And it just got me right from the beginning. It's so well written. When you just open some books and you open up and you're like, holy cow.
So is it fiction? Is it nonfiction?
It's not. It's fiction.
Okay.
Yep. The main guy's name is Shadow.
Is there any superheroes in it? Is there any special powers?
It looks like there's going to be something like that, but I'm not far. I'm only about 5 chapters in, and there's some shenanigans going on that that I really grabbed my attention.
I've identified certain characteristics that books need to have for me for them to really capture my attention. One, it's superpowers. There needs to be something super.
No matter what?
Well, there's got to be something completely different than modern day whatever. Or else
what is the appeal of that? Is it the fantasy of being able to have...
life can be just fucking boring, kind of a downer. You know, you wake up, you go to work, you come home. I mean, if you're not raising chickens...
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
what superpower would you pick if you could have one of all the superpowers out there? What would it be?
Oh shit, I don't know, man. Flying would be awesome. Being able to
The ability
minds,
to read the Constitution.
being able to read minds would be awesome.
that would be awesome as long as you could turn it on and off. Because if I was having sex with my lady and she was just like, "Oh fuck, this is the worst," I'd be like, "Oh," I'd be done. It would ruin it.
That would be hard. Well,
Yeah.
you know what though? You'd have to have tough skin because you'd hear everybody's thoughts about you. That would be you'd get some pretty.
But that'd be all right because then at least you would know.
You know where you
You know
stand.
what I mean?
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would know where you stand for
And
sure.
you can
like that.
plan accordingly.
I have to say, I think flying it's got to be the end all.
Flying would be the shit.
You
Flying
think
would
so?
Be pretty awesome.
The flying
Just the
thing?
ability to like say I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to California this weekend, so you can fly there. I mean, it just takes like a little bit of time. That to me would be like just the convenience of seeing people and going places. That would be awesome.
I would like the ability to remember and retain every little bit of information I've ever been.
Like those people that can do that.
There's a guy out there like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
There's lots of
there's a
people.
very small
Yeah.
group of people that can be
Yeah.
like, okay, on the 3rd of September, this is what I observed.
But they have an issue. They all have. I mean, because they re-feel
Yeah.
the exact pain that took place on that day, and I don't. You know, I'm divorced. That was a painful thing. I'm not sure every time I think about something, I go, "Oh, Jesus!" You know, like, do you want that a death of somebody important in your family or something?
But,
That'd be hard.
I think of a physical injury. Like for me, I was thinking about this the other day when I went running for the first time.
And your legs hurt
for
so
the first
bad.
time.
For the first time since I hurt my knee.
Okay, there you go.
And while I was running, I was thinking pretty much the whole time, I hope I don't hurt my knee. And I started reliving this whole, oh God, is this how it started to feel? I was just, instead of just enjoying running
Right.
like I used to, now I was thinking about that. And if I had a perfect memory to totally relive that pain, that moment, would I be able to could I choose not to think about it?
I think you're crazy not to wear something on your knee, to be honest.
When I run?
When you do anything physical with your
Really?
knee. I mean, I think that just because that polyurethane sleeve that it doesn't do anything but just kind of like hold things together in one place.
Keep it warm a little bit.
Just keep it warm. I just think that would, if you get little shifts going on, it'll keep those things from happening. Now, if you seriously hurt your knee, that's a whole
Rocky's like,
different-
Well, I mean, if you're
if you're worried about
temporary comfort or whatnot, but you don't want to use that forever. If you want to get back into running, I mean, that's going to be kind of like a limitation, kind of a handicap, So,
right. I mean, that would be like you doing deadlifts with a belt, with a
Right.
belt on from the get go, instead of using
Yeah, see, I
lightweight
don't
and
like
slowly
using-
building up those muscles.
I
Too.
hate
like you
using
can go
belts.
run like a mile, and obviously don't go run 5-10 miles the first time back, but
Right.
you gradually get back into it. And slowly
See, my
increase the
my
distance.
ankle hurt forever, and I think it was just from wear and tear. And so I started using those. This is polyurethane. Is polyurethane correct? It's
I
like
don't
that. It's just
think
like
so.
Sounds
neoprene.
pretty good.
Neoprene.
neoprene. Anyways,
I think
I wore
neoprene.
one on one foot for a while because it was kind of bothering me and aching, and it kept it warmer. And after a while, I just realized I didn't need it anymore, and I stopped using it. But for a while there, it did feel like it helped just keep things warm and kept things together.
Joe Rogan was saying he takes 10 fish oil capsules a day.
That's ridiculous.
You don't
10.
need
Holy
that much,
shit.
do you?
He goes,
need that much?
he goes, I probably take too much, but it makes, I feel good.
He can afford it.
I can feel all right. But he eats pretty healthy and everything
Yeah.
else. My sister, the reason we were talking about superpowers and then the running and everything, but I was talking to my sister the other day, and I told her that I was doing the Tough Mudder, and she goes, "Have you ran at all? How's your running going?" I told her about my running. She goes, "Oh God, Matt, oh, are you? Please don't do this. Don't do the Tough
Why?
Mudder. Please don't do it." Because her mindset, she's a runner, And
she's thinking 10, 12 miles.
Yes, her idea is half marathon straight.
Without any training.
Yeah.
Which sounds
and
scary.
so she just almost got sick. And then I said, so how's your training going for the sprint triathlon, the Pigman? And she goes, oh, pretty good. I've been running and biking, and I'm going to start doing the training where I ride my bike for 5 or 6 miles, and then I get off the bike and I run. I go, that's perfect. How's your swim? She goes, I'm really not swimming.
Oh.
Hey, listen, if you're getting on me about jogging, I can always stop and walk, stretch. But when you're swimming, it's not like you can just pull your ass over to the side of the lake and kind of hang out for a while. Stretch.
I'll just sit here and float.
Oh, somebody got a life jacket? I just want to take a rest. No, that shit don't happen. You either are a decent swimmer and you... So,
I will give your sister my Total Immersion CD.
Oh, you haven't?
I
have
it.
a Total Immersion CD?
I do.
Which is a great CD.
Great CD. Retrain me. I can do 1.5 miles in 42 minutes. It's a great program. It's super, and I felt great. I got out of the water and I was like, oh, I can keep on swimming if I wanted to. I mean, it's such a good program that it just doesn't, it's just not exhausting. It's the best part about it. So people people who do that training can also supposedly do the swim from England to France, that 21 miles across the water.
Really?
I thought at one point I was like, that'd be the shit to do that. And then I saw all kinds of videos on it. And there's actually what do you call it? A tourist kind of thing. There's people who own boats just to take people across to follow them along as they swim.
Now I would be on a boat drinking, watching people do it, cheering them on.
Good job, Todd. You're doing great.
Where'd he go? He went somewhere. He was just here.
Oh God. But I'll get her to that because the Total Immersion is just the best.
What else do you have for current events?
I don't have anything else.
That's it? You're done?
That was it. I'm done.
Oh my God.
Did you see the family? I can't remember where they were, but they claimed to have captured a chupacabra.
A chupacabra?
Did you see that?
No.
Maybe 3 weeks ago.
Get out of town.
The difference between this and other claims is they actually had video of this animal.
It's scary.
Because they had it in a cage. And
it gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, you can look it up on YouTube. I'm not sure what you would search for. Maybe just chupacabra. But anyways, it looks like a hairless raccoon. But experts were saying that it's a canine. But canines don't use their front paws to eat. This thing was like using front paws to scoop food.
Oh shit!
Is
this it? Is this what they're saying?
Let me take a closer look. Yep, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah. That's supposedly the family claims it's a chupacabra, but you know what? If you watch the video, it looks like no animal that I've ever seen before. The closest I could think is a hairless raccoon. There
are creepy photographs of like hairless dog, coyote looking things that don't look like. I mean, that's about as close. That's the most closely relatable animal I could think of.
Have you seen that? There's a picture. It's like is it a black bear that's shaved? I've seen that picture go around sometimes, and they look fucking weird with no hair on them.
Creepy.
Oh
weird.
my God! Yeah, they're just kind of freaky looking.
Yeah, I imagine anything without hair would look kind of weird. You know.
Hey, I look just fine.
Well,
Thank you.
Human beings is the exception.
It does look kind of. It almost looks like a tiny hairless bear. That's what it kind of looks like.
The thing is, like, there's so many undiscovered species out there.
Yeah.
So the fact that we found something that looks a little bit different and unique is not that surprising.
I was going to say that they talk about how we've only brushed the surface on some of the species that we've found, even in some of the densest jungle for sure.
Right.
You know? I'm not surprised at all. But have you heard any more about that guy who had the Sasquatch that he was taking around the country and
I haven't heard anything else.
I'm waiting to like hear more about it.
I get disappointed with all those because there was a time when I desperately wanted Sasquatch to be real.
You know who killed it for me? Joe Rogan, man. He shattered that big time. I loved Bigfoot when I was a kid. And Joe Rogan, I like the fact that Joe Rogan started that show on Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, Joe Rogan questions everything.
Going out there trying to show that all the things that he believed in, and it just squashed all of his own dreams. Nothing was true. You know, the UFO stuff that people had seen stuff, all those different things. He's just kind of going, oh, come on.
Well, he's a government shill. I don't even know what that means. I've just heard him say it a couple of times. I'm just playing.
I just think it's funny that he was willing to
like the fact. I like the fact that somebody is willing to say, I'll check out anything. I'd love for this stuff to be true. But the people that I met, they were all pretty much fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You got to have an open mind, a rational mind about it, even though you want it to be true. I really wanted Bigfoot to be true for the longest time. And I remember when I was in the Army, probably like 05, 06, there was on the news, on the national news and all the channels, some group of guys down south, maybe Oklahoma or somewhere, claimed they had a corpse of a Sasquatch. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but they had pictures of this corpse in this freaking freezer, you know. And I was like, that's it. That's proof he exists. Bigfoot is real, damn it. You know, but you know, the thing about these guys is they said they wanted money for somebody to come in and take a look at this thing. So I was like, wait a second.
Sketchy.
Turned out to be a fake suit in a freezer. So I was pissed off.
Oh, I bet.
I was pissed off. So,
Well, I mean, but I think there are things, though. I mean, I think even Joe Rogan says, he's saying, I didn't see any evidence that convinced me, but I know when I walked into the forests of the Pacific Northwest, I took 50 yards off the road and I couldn't see fucking anywhere. There's so many trees, it's so dark, it's so green that he wouldn't be surprised. And so I think he was still being open about it. But I mean, to me, it's a scientific possibility that could be UFOs, though. To me,
well, it was
it's
only
just like
100 years ago that we thought the legend of the great ape. We thought that was legend just 100 years ago. You know, nobody had seen it. There was
gorilla, you mean?
Yeah, gorilla.
Oh, okay.
Ape. Yeah. It wasn't until, was it Teddy Roosevelt time frame that
I'm not sure
that they actually were able to find that, and you know, what are the black and white bears? Pandas. That was another legend that nobody believed in
Oh, right.
until Teddy Roosevelt's time, when they went out and did these big game hunting type
Yeah, and
things.
found them.
So it wasn't that long ago that there were still
a
some
blink.
really amazing creatures out there that we had never come across.
Have you ever seen the Tasmanian tiger? Those things are amazing looking, but they're
The Tasmanian devil or tiger?
No, tiger. I think they're extinct. I think
Is
we
that
killed them all.
similar to a liger.
I don't think so.
Ligers are real.
I know, they're crazy. Those things scare me to death, man.
They wouldn't make it in the wild, that's for sure.
You don't think so? They're so big.
Well, that's exactly why they wouldn't make it in the wild.
They can't eat enough to sustain
Well,
themselves.
that would be one thing, and I also think they wouldn't be fast enough or stealthy enough to get prey. You know?
Oh, they're just too damn big.
They're too damn
Yeah.
big. So
Unless you can do like a snake and just fall out of a tree on something.
Oh my God. The mouth on that thing.
They're beautiful though. Look at the stripes on that thing.
that is a good looking animal.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And I think
We suck as human beings.
well, they supposedly have
at times.
DNA. This is one of those things that people bring up for DNA stuff. We have DNA of a Tasmanian tiger, and they're thinking that maybe they can
bring it back.
Well,
They also, I mean, how long have they been saying that about the woolly mammoth? Oh, we'll just do that with the African elephant.
I think there are like regulations against that, isn't there?
think
That's human cloning. Like, that's what it is. It's cloning, correct?
We do so much sketchy shit.
Yeah,
that why do we have regulations? I mean, unless you're creating something that is like Godzilla.
Right.
Unless you're creating,
we genetically altered and changed monkeys now, so we can do different experiments on them. How fucked up is that?
yeah, we do some pretty fucked up stuff,
you're right.
and the whole argument of this isn't God's plan. As soon as you step foot in the hospital, as soon as you have somebody else spin some blood, set your arm. If you wouldn't have seen somebody like that, as soon as you use technology to fix yourself, you're not following your God's plan.
Well, I think there are some Native American people who believe that technology and as we advance are a God-given thing.
And,
you gain the knowledge over time.
And if that's
evolution.
your argument, that's fine. If your argument is God gave us the wits, the brains to help ourselves,
right.
Fine. Then we can go ahead and start doing gene therapy.
And if God has a plan for everything and every person, then is there free will? If there's a plan.
Oh, here we go.
But no. Think about
He's
that.
already got it planned out. He knows who's going to join, who's not.
No,
Right.
I'm just saying, think about that for a second. If everything happens for a reason and it's all a part of a divine plan and it's all mapped out in advance, where's the free will in that?
You know what?
Well,
that's probably the easiest. That's probably the go-to easiest statement to make if you want to shut down the idea that I'm going to reach out and I'm going to touch you and you're going to be saved. I'm going to save you. And the whole idea of I need to preach and touch people's souls and bring you to the word. You know what? If you truly believe it, then there's already people who are going to be saved and who are not going to be saved.
If you truly believe it.
If you truly believe it,
Sure.
then why even preach? Then why even get out there and preach it? Because it's completely out of your control.
Right.
It's already been set
Yeah.
in stone.
And who are you to intervene in God's plan? Let things just fall where they may.
And I had that conversation. Rock and I had that conversation before too, but I talked to a coworker today.
You were high on marijuana, or
No.
Oh, okay.
It was meth, right?
Allegedly. Yeah, it was meth.
I've been watching too much Breaking Bad lately.
God, that show's good.
It is.
But I talked to a coworker today, and she was talking about how she's careful talking about certain things around certain people. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, I do that too. That's okay not to ruffle people's feathers if they're religious. I think it's okay to be sensitive to that. I'm okay with that at work. And she goes, yeah, I just am not sure what I believe at all anymore. And I was like, I don't believe any of it. I said, at this point, I'm not convinced there isn't a higher power, but I'm not sure that there is. And that's where I'm at. Jesus was a great guy. That was it.
Totally agnostic.
Totally agnostic. And she was like, yeah, I kind of see myself that way. But a lot of our coworkers, I shouldn't say a lot of them. They're pretty average for the average of the United States. Some are serious born-again Christians, and some are laid back about it. Some are born-again Christians, and they're fucking crazy anal about it. Some people are, they're just all stripes, But still, it's just like...
Yeah, I don't think Jesus was all that great of a guy. First of all, I don't think he ever existed. I think he's just another made-up myth, just like all other religions. And for us to think that he is the one true religion, the only one that ever existed, is kind of egotistical. I think here.
I think there were probably lots of people Christ-like. He's the perfect figure for the Christians. Muhammad is the perfect person for Islam. They all have their unvarnished.
What's
person.
so bad about Buddha?
Well, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying.
What's so bad about him?
They're all kind of the same thing. They all were trying to pass on enlightenment, or trying to pass on. That's why I guess I like Jesus, as he preached a lot of love.
But if you look at Jesus' ultimate teachings, he says, believe in me or burn in hell for all eternity. What kind of love is that? What kind of unconditional love is that?
I don't remember that.
Oh,
at
man,
all.
there's
I'm the only
verses.
way.
I'm
the only way.
I am the way and the light.
I am the way and the light.
John
I am the
3:16.
only. Wow.
There will be burning and gnashing in teeth. I
thought that was more of God talking than Jesus. No,
I could look. I can't spit out verses word for word from my brain right now. But Jesus is in the New Testament saying that he is the only way to get to salvation, to get to heaven, and the alternative is to go to hell. And to me, that's not unconditional love. That there's conditions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you're not able to believe in something that's not backed up by any evidence whatsoever, then you're going to suffer for all eternity, no matter what kind of person, no matter how good of a person you are.
Right.
To me, that is the opposite of unconditional love. There's plenty of conditions that come along with that.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Hey, is this a good segue? Because I wanted to talk about this
Pop brownies or
pop brownies. God, I have not gotten appropriately high. Ever. I've never gotten to that point where I'm like, oh man, I feel wonderful. I've never ever partaken in something where I thought I feel great, or I've never tripped my balls off. I said that the other day at my work. I was having this goofy conversation with some of the people, and my boss was in there, and I go, hey, what do they test for?
Oh, you
do they? I go, do they test for mushrooms?
No, they don't.
Do you know if when you do the piss
tryptophamine? What's the name of that? The mushrooms.
I don't know, but you're fucking up the word.
Thank you. You'll just put a little word in there that says Todd doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
What the fuck, Todd? But and that wasn't the only time I said it. I was like, do they test for MDMA?
God, they will now.
Just in this broad kind of conversation, because we were talking about drugs and different things, and talking about the possibility that marijuana could ever be legalized in Iowa, and how could we test for?
Oh, and how could you do your job?
How could you do your job? Yeah. How could you smoke a joint 2 weeks ago and come into work? You're completely not high at all, but it's still in your system. How would the testing go? So we were having that type of conversation, but I was saying And there's people that I work with that are ex-cops. And there's this guy who I get along with wonderfully, and he's very dry. He doesn't say a lot. You don't get a lot from him. He doesn't smile a whole lot. But I'm asking these questions, and I look over at him, and he's sitting in the back of the room on a chair, and he's just shaking his head with this big fucking smile on his face, like, I know why you're asking.
Well, fuck, your boss probably knew why you're asking.
Well, my boss is, I think he's in his 50s, but he looks like he's in his hundreds.
Okay. Psilocybin
poor
is what's
guy.
in mushrooms, by the way.
Psilocybin? Good job.
Thanks.
Yeah,
try.
so that's not a very good segue. I'm really trying to get to this story of douchey people. How
They need to take mushrooms.
Maybe
They need to
that's
take mushrooms. Is what they need.
Yeah, maybe
They need to take mushrooms.
Maybe they
There's
need to
your
take
segue.
mushrooms. When do you, as a person, decide this friend is not really a friend anymore? I don't want to call them a friend. I don't want to interact with them like a friend anymore. I mean, what does somebody have to do? You're getting along well with somebody. You're chewing the fat. You're having a great time. You're just horsing around, and you're like that for years. And then something happens, and you're like, I'm done with you.
I'm trying to
You're
think.
a fucking
I've been
dude.
there.
I'm looking at the. You
Have you?
have? Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think I've ever been there before. I'm looking at the two of you, and I'm trying to thinking, what could one of you guys do that would make it like end, like on the spot, done? I'm trying to. It's hard for me to imagine that happening.
Yeah, for me, I kind of had a similar experience in life, and it's not something that was abruptly happened, but it kind of over time I started to realize what this person was all about. You know, there was a guy that I still see a lot, and I used to be really tight with. You know, really fun guy to hang out with, really cool guy to hang out with, always a good time. So we were really good, friends. But I always kind of realized, like, he would never really lift a finger to help anybody else out. He was always all about himself. Well, over the years, over time, and over conversations with other mutual friends, I just started to gradually realize this guy is just nothing but a selfish piece of shit. Fun to hang out with, but if you ever needed anything, he's the last person I would ever call. I would call my worst enemy before I called this guy. I'd have better chances of getting him to help me out, than this guy, So, I still see this guy on a regular basis, and because I have mutual interest with him,
Right.
And
and you still play nice.
yeah, exactly. We still frequent the same places, but we don't hang out at all. And I think quietly he knows why, because
Did you ever have? So you never had like a falling out or anything?
there may have
There was
been,
never a come into Jesus moment.
there might have been some things that he heard through mutual friends that I never actually sat down and told him why.
Sure.
It was just one of those things that just is kind of understood. And to be honest with you, other mutual friends have had the same experience with this guy so they're no longer friends with him too. I was kind of the first one to say, you know what? This guy is just a piece of shit and will never raise a finger to help anybody else out. Fun guy to hang out with, but I'm done getting a hold of him. I'm done being friends with him. I'm done going out of my way to help him out.
You don't think you could have helped? You don't think you could have helped him out as a friend by saying, "Listen, I know we get along, we have a good time, but fuck, I don't want to ask you for anything because you're so selfish." You didn't have a kind of friendship where you could do that.
Some things are just obvious, I mean, I knew this guy since I was 15, and I'm 34 now, and I mean, I came to this complete realization probably 4 years ago when I was 30. So we're talking a 15-year period where you just kind of, that's a long time, to see things happen gradually over a pretty long span. So and plus stories from other people add up, and I mean, just obvious things that you do for your friends that this guy just never did.
Oh, okay.
It was just terrible.
Weren't even sure if it was worth the conversation to have.
It wasn't worth the conversation to have. Yeah, exactly. But I'm not trying to bash this guy.
No.
But I'm just saying that's how he is and that's who he is. And so I chose to not really be a tight friend with him anymore. I have nothing against him.
Right.
I'm nothing against him. It's just that is just who he is. And he was a guy who I considered my best friend at one time, who I don't really consider a friend anymore, more of an acquaintance. So I've been there before. You know?
Wow.
Have you ever had something like that?
I don't think so.
Where you write somebody off. You had a completely wrong feeling about somebody. You know, you meet somebody, you have this first impression, you're like, wow, great person. I want to hang out with that person.
I can't think of anybody I've ever had that happen with. Anybody. Well, I guess if you have one, that's not too.
What's kind of your what has to happen? What does somebody need to have?
It'd have to
for
be
them to be like,
it'd have to be like serious betrayal. I mean, it'd have to be like, sleeping with my wife or stealing, money from me, or it would have to be like some serious betrayal to have that happen. Because I would think that, let's take you for example. Say you.
Let's
stop
take
returning
me for an example.
Let's say you stopped, helping me. Say you started being a selfish prick, and you weren't helping me, and and all of a sudden, but I would be more than happy to say, dude, what is going on?
I would talk
to you about it. So it's hard for me to imagine something happening where I would end anything with anybody.
Yeah,
it'd just be have to be like something big time, like I came home and found some buddy in bed with my wife or something. That would be the end of it.
Sure. The reason why I bring this up. I work with somebody who I've worked with for about 5 years, and it's a woman, and we've always gotten along very well. We've always gotten along really well, and the kind of thing where she's like one of the guys, she's flipping you shit, she's teasing you, you can tease her back, type of a thing. It was good rapport back and forth, but something that I've noticed since day one was if she comes in a bad mood, don't even say hi. Don't even say hi, because you're not going to get hi back, which that's one of those things as a friend kills me.
I think that as a human being,
yeah,
is shitty.
It's just shitty manners. It's just terrible people skills. I went through a divorce. At one point in time, and if somebody was like, "Hey, Matt, how you doing?" I'm all right.
That's the
how you doing? Or I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I'm just off my rocker today. I'm just having a bad day. If I'm not interacting, or if I'm quiet today, I'm just off my rocker.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Sure.
But this person, it doesn't matter. It does not fucking matter. It's almost bipolar express. It's just one day she's in a great mood and, okay, we can play. Other days, hands off. Don't touch. Don't talk to me. Don't get in my circle. So the other day, I realized she hasn't responded to me in 2 weeks. Verbally responded in 2 weeks, and if she did respond, it was like very short, clipped.
Mm-hmm.
This is all business. I'm not fucking around, type of thing. And so I decided, all right, I'm gonna give her a call. I'm like, hey, are we okay? Are we all right? Is there anything that I need to know about? Is there anything bad that we need to work through? And she goes, nope, we're fine. Which,
Matt,
when you hear that from a woman, no, we're fine. Shit's not fine. Shit's not good.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, and I start laughing because I'm just like, this is so fucking ridiculously not fine. And I can't believe you're saying that. Hang up. So then I'm actually in the same room with her the other day, and almost the entire hour or the entire time that I'm sitting there, it's just dead fucking silence. Dead fucking silence. And I'm thinking, and while we were...
She like this to other people too? Or just you?
No, she has been like that with other people. In fact, when we were really tight, mm-hmm. when we were laughing and joking around a lot, she would call me if I was at a different place, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, this person's sitting with me. I just cannot."
But like during these 2 weeks where she wasn't responding to you at all, was she also not responding to other people?
No,
so
that's
okay,
how I knew.
Well,
that's the kicker.
Yeah, that's the kicker. That's how I knew there was definitely a problem.
Sure.
So I'm sitting with her. It's just fucking dead quiet, and I go, "Hey, I don't know what I said or did that upset you, but if you would like to enlighten me, I would love to work through this so that we can actually have a good working relationship at least. And she flips her fucking lid. She just flips her fucking lid. Awesome. And she doesn't even turn to me. Her back is to me and she goes, "Not today, Matt. Not today. We're not going through this today. We're not doing this." And I thought, holy fuck.
So you did something.
I did something.
And have you found out since then?
No.
Weird.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I did find out since then, but not from her. I found out.
So what'd you do?
This is what I did.
Yeah, what did you do?
The guy that I carpool with, we're heading home the other day from work, and I said, "Dude, this is freaking me out. Listen to what happened today." So I tell him, and he goes, he starts laughing.
Nice.
He starts laughing. He goes, "Oh, yeah. A couple weeks ago, I forgot to tell you."
I forgot to tell you.
I forgot to tell you. She told me a couple weeks ago. I'm like, "Oh, well, fuck, great. Why didn't you just tell me a couple weeks ago?" Anyway, it's so insignificant. He goes, "You're going to be really mad when I tell you." I go, "Well, why would I be mad?" He goes, "Because it's so insignificant. She's acting like a 4-year-old.
Nice. Let's hear it.
So it's super. Unless you work my job, you might not get it. But she obviously, I guess, said, "Don't. I'm doing something. It won't be back for a while. And by the way, don't take this other vehicle. It's a safety risk because the one wiper doesn't work." Well, she has never talked to me about it. She just assumed that I heard her clearly, and I said, fuck her. I'm taking that goddamn unsafe vehicle anyway, which I didn't. I didn't hear anything that she said. I just got in a vehicle, I started driving, and then I realized, oh shit, the fucking wiper doesn't work.
Right.
But she took it so fucking personally, and the fact that I said, "Hey, can you ask her why she's so slow at driving?"
That made it worse.
It's such a personality issue.
Just that little thing, just that little 5-minute thing caused her to not interact with me for 2 weeks.
Is she interacting with you now?
No. No, she's still not.
And I haven't married to this lady. That'd be terrible.
Oh,
God.
Well, that's part of the problem. I came home and I looked at my daughter and I said, "Honey, you really need to work on your people skills. You know, you really need to deal with your anger, because if you grow up to be this lady," and I gave her the example of what happened to me that day and how I found out about what was going on, "you're not going to have any friends."
Yeah.
You're not going to have any friends, and you're not going to have a good marriage, and shit's just going to be fucking terrible.
All the time. Well, it's all perspective. You know what I mean? I mean, I talk to people all the time.
How fucking hard is it to be like, "Hey, man, I told you not to take the truck."
Or, "Hey, we were a dick for and make fun of how fucking slow I was going. I was worried about this." I mean,
communication.
Yeah.
A little talking wouldn't have been bad.
But I mean, the whole point is that you have to find a way to let people know if something's bothering. I mean, it's all about solving problems. If there's a communication problem, you fix that problem.
Oh,
and they say that guys are the fixers, but I would think that anybody, if they want to have clear, concise communication, are going to try to find a way to figure something out.
Yeah. Well, I talked the guy that I carpool with. I said, "How long have you and I been friends?" "Really good friends." He goes, 15 years. I go, "Okay, so in 15 years, have you and I ever had a conversation? Have I ever treated you like that? Have I ever talked about you like that? Have I ever given you the cold shoulder? Have I ever interacted in any way like that?" And he's like, "No, that's why we've been really good friends for 15 years. I'm like, ding.
I can't remember the last time I said, "Not today, Matt. Not today.
Not today.
You bastard.
You don't want to do it today, Matt."
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Hey,
but it's not happening today.
I wasn't asking for a hand job. I was asking for what's wrong. That's what I was asking about. How can I make this better?
I think some people find those things to be that are wrong so they can fucking use it as a way to stay angry and stay miserable. That's what they focus on. Fuck yeah. Yeah, things are bad. You know?
It's much easier to be upset.
Why do you think I think people like Fox News so much? It's easy. Oh, everybody's a bunch of assholes doing this, this, and this. or any mainstream media. Liberals are all this way, or Republicans are all this way. Whatever you want to, however you want to spin it, it just makes things easier. You don't have to put a lot of effort into it. Instead of saying, oh, well, I think I understand that person's points of view. I could see where they're coming from. Oh, and I can also see that person's point of view and understand where they're coming from. That takes fucking work. Yeah. It doesn't take any work to be like, fuck all y'all. If you like guns, I hate you. If you want to hug dolphins, I hate you. Whatever it is, just I think it makes life easier. All right, listen, for people.
If you hunt dolphins, I probably won't dig you. I probably won't.
If you haven't watched The Cove.
The Cove.
What if you hunt deer?
No, I'm down with that.
So you can kill deer, but not dolphins?
Well, I don't know. I kind of like dolphins.
They're both sentient beings, right?
That's true. Mm-hmm. Fuck. You got me.
Well, but that's a great conversation to have, though, because there are people that are going to say that some animals are more simple-minded, or they're around here as meat products before we made everything kind of industrialized, and there are people that say that dolphins are actual extremely intelligent human beings, or elephants, or some of the larger mammals are very smart, thinking animals.
It's funny that you bring that up.
A pig is any different than a. Pigs are supposed to be very smart animals. Cows, yeah, I'm not sure. Are they stupid? I don't know.
There was just something about a crow.
Pigs
how crows are extraordinarily.
They use tools. They pick up stones and they crack open stuff.
So did you hear about this experiment that was done with a crow? And here's the prize. And the crow shows that you put one tool there. The crow can't get to the prize. It can't get to the food or whatever it needs. So it has to use the tool to get it. And it shows that it does it.
Really? Oh, I haven't seen that.
And then the scientists decide, okay, well, then we're going to use a tool. We're going to put it to where you're going to need a tool to get to the other tool. Once you get the second tool, then you can get the prize. And the crow fucking does that.
Wow.
And I think they even got to a point where they had to go, there was a 3-part tool type of thing that they had to use, and the crows showed that they could do that.
And so does that go back to does that squash the idea that a bigger brain makes a smarter person then? Is that what
I don't know. It was very intriguing. I think the reason that scientific type of study is cool is they were saying actually that crows might actually be smarter than dolphins because we can show
problem solving kind of
maybe. But that's the kind of the thing that we've always kind of fallen back on what makes us different than animals. Oh, well, we use tools. Well, now they're showing that a crow can use a tool. So if a crow can use tools to reach its objective, what makes any of these other animals any different? Maybe these other animals just choose to not use fucking tools. Maybe these other animals are
right. So they're not any smarter or dumber. They just choose not to use.
There's a lot of fucking humans that all they want to do is go to Walmart, come home, and watch Fox News and order pizza. They don't use a whole lot of tools.
Can I tell you the douchebaggy thing that I have a problem with?
Oh, dude, bring the douchiness.
Okay. So I had a person that I had an issue with, and my issue with them was
first of all, is it me?
No.
Okay.
It's Rock.
Proceed.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't like people who don't.
I'm here.
I don't.
We can get this out in the open.
Therapy with Matt and Todd.
Hey, Joe. I'm done. I have a difficult time with adults that don't hold themselves accountable. And I think it goes back to the conversation. Well, I had a conversation with that guy. Is he really going to say, oh, you're right, I need to change? He has to be willing to do that for anything to change, especially in your relationship. So I'm dealing with an adult who absolutely, they're not friends of mine. I know them through people and things like that, but they absolutely take no responsibility for anything when it comes to their children. And I am
as far as what? Give me an example.
I probably can't give you too many examples. But just a lack of parenting. Like their kid is a burden. It's not somebody they're trying to raise and bring into humanity and raising a person. They're just like it's just another burdensome thing to them, and they have absolutely no responsibility at all. And so, it's the first time in a long time where I find myself like hating somebody, like. If I saw you
don't hate somebody on a regular basis?
No. So, but I get to the point though that I just like, it's the same thing like with, certain people in my life when I was a kid who were, horrible adults to me that I think back going, oh, I should just fucking just laid them out. I was at an age I could handle myself. And then I always sit back and go, oh, I'm glad I didn't do that. That's a shitty thing. I don't want to be a dick. If they're a dick, I don't need to be a dick, right? But this is in the situations where when it has to do with adults and it has to do with kids, my tolerance level is really, really, really low. And it's a flaw that I don't like in myself very much. But it's one of those things where if, I was talking to my dad about it, and I said, if they came up and talked to me and they were trying to be Mr. Happy Pants, hey, good to see you, I would be hard-pressed to be like, oh, hey, how's it? Like, do the normal response you talked about if you're even having a bad day.
Right.
It'd be hard for me to go like, oh, I'm fine, thanks. I'm good. How are you? Have a happy joy conversation. It'd have to be one of those things like, I'm good, thanks, and like me have to like walk away. Because I would want to, fucking lay into them.
Because you know what's going on.
Because I know what's going on. I just don't like the idea of adults not holding themselves accountable.
Now, I know I've told you this story in the past about the guy I worked with who would come in almost nightly and say, fucking kids. I wouldn't have to fucking work at this job if it wasn't for these fucking kids.
Really?
You don't remember? I never told you this story?
Probably not. Oh, maybe you did. It's been a long time.
Basically, I just worked with the guy. He solidified the idea that I had that I do not want to bring any children into this world. And for Matt, I have this whole idea about the proper way to think about life on this earth. It's a little crazy. It's a little cuckoo.
Why are you laughing?
Well, because I totally believe that there should be a system in place where when you're 13 or 12 or whenever boys start to produce sperm or whatever, you go into the doctor's office, you jerk off, you fill up a couple canisters of fucking Matt baby batter, right? and then you get fixed. And that would solve so many problems in the world.
Population controls, right?
Population control. One would be population control. But two, you wouldn't have any girls not fulfilling their dreams of going to college, of doing whatever, because you would have to go, and Rocky's going to hate this, but this was my idea, of how could you control this? I mean, this whole idea of population control was birthed from this fucking guy who came in every night hating his kids and blaming his existence on his own children because he hated them. He blamed them for every aspect of his life. Huh. And he's like, if I didn't have these fucking kids, I wouldn't have to be at this fucking place and I could go do what I want. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Why do you have kids in the first place?
Well, that's kind of the thing. It's kind of like, well, how dare you drive drunk? Do you ever want me to drink a beer? I'm going to drink a beer every now and then, and I'm probably going to have to transport myself from point A to point B. You know what I mean? And by the way, I'm a human being. I like to fuck. And I'm going to screw every now and then, and it only takes one time.
Right.
Even if I'm wearing a condom, it's only 99% sure that it's not going to happen. But you have sex one time, and your teenage daughter gets pregnant. I'm sorry, that came out really bad.
It came out really bad.
That came out really bad. Okay.
I knew what you meant, but it sounded bad.
Right, let me restate that. Your teenage daughter has sex one time, and she becomes pregnant, and her life is irrevocably changed.
Right.
Unless she has an abortion.
That's correct.
Right.
You're right. But we are at such a point with our society that I almost wished that you would have to do what my plan was at 11 or 13 or whenever boys are, masturbating like crazy. You do your thing. It's on record. If you choose at a later time when you're older to have kids, you can go into the doctor and you can say, hey, I'm totally set up. I got a good job. You don't even have to have a good job. You can show that you can
take care of yourself
sure. and your child, right? And you know what? It's probably, I know you can physically do it. I know you could physically raise a child on your own, but it's probably not the best thing for the development of that child to be raised by a single parent. So maybe it'd be a good idea to show, you know what, I'm married to, or I have somebody who wants to be with me for the rest of my life with me, and so I'm totally set. So let's do that. Let's take her egg and my sperm, and it's on fucking icicles. Let's get her pregnant. Okay, you meet all the requirements. Let's fucking do this. And then people would be getting pregnant when they choose to get pregnant instead of having to hear some fucking guy come into work and go, oh, I fucking hate life.
Right.
I hate my life. I hate my kids. Fucking kids. And that was 15, almost 20 years ago that I experienced that. And just recently, I work with a guy who's going to be going through his second divorce, second set of child support payments. I mean, he there's so much getting taken out of his check. Where's he going to live? How's he going to provide for a decent life for himself?
I got a buddy going through some shit like that. Yeah.
I mean,
ridiculous.
Even if the guy that I know did the wrong thing and cheated on his wife or whatever the circumstances are, you're so handcuffed to that offspring of yours. You have certain responsibilities, and I'm not saying you don't, but it's so easy to have kids. Well, not for me. Somewhere along the line, God said, "You know what, Matt? It really should be difficult. You go get your own kids.
We can't.
If you want kids, you better go get your own kids." So I did. But so I'm not saying what this guy, how he got to this point in his life is right or wrong. I'm saying when I look at his situation, I would almost want to eat a bullet. I would almost see no way out. I'm either staying with this second wife who I cannot stand, who makes my life a living hell, or I financially can't take care of myself. Or here's the third option. I just fucking skip town.
Just disappear.
And you become that deadbeat dad that everybody's like, "Oh, you're a fucking deadbeat dad."
Right.
But you're handcuffed. You have a ball and chain to your ankle from the moment those kids are birthed. You know,
so
it's a very negative aspect.
But if you're not preparing for it,
but it's real.
You should be knowing what you're getting into.
That kind of stuff should be in the high school curriculum. If you get a girl pregnant, here's what the consequences are.
Oh, I think they do.
That's
do
why
that.
I totally believe in anal sex.
They do that. I mean, they do talk. Yeah, absolutely. At the high school level, they definitely start breaching those subjects. Do you want to be tied to this person forever?
It's been a while since I've been in high school, but they didn't talk about child support and they didn't talk about anything like that.
That's a Catholic school.
It's true. I did go to private school, so maybe it's different than public schools.
I think it's different than public schools. I remember being talked to about having babies too early.
Oh, I never was.
Oh shit, I did. Well, you went to the Catholic school too.
That was only the last year and a half of my schooling. I never was told that at my public school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I only went to a private school last year and a half.
Well, there's 4,000 people in my public school, so maybe they're trying to work on that part.
But I mean, if you were to really lay it out financially, and I think that's almost like the universal language that people will finally start to get. Like it finally fucking hits home with people. Your pocketbook. Okay. If this happens, if X, Y, and Z happen, and you don't fall in love, if you're not totally committed to stay with this person forever, this is what your life's going to be. Right. It's almost like taking somebody to jail and saying, if you do...
Scared straight?
Yeah. If you do crack, if you do this, so you better put it in her butt. No?
You have to go there.
Yes.
That was great.
I guarantee you put it in her butt, she's not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, that's a good way. Would you say it's a good thing that abortion is still legal?
Oh, my thing is, it's up to the woman. It's up to her. I really want to give women the power to do whatever they want to do because they're human beings, right?
I'm with you on that 100%.
But if a woman and if I were to hook up with some lady and I thought she was the shit and she became pregnant, if I had no say in that child, that would bother me a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think that should be between the woman and the man, totally. But the final say, I think, has to come down to the woman because it's growing in her body.
Right.
And I guess I do have a hard time with like late term abortions. if it's just because the person doesn't want to have a kid and they couldn't make up their fucking minds for 9 months and they're a month out or 2 months out, that to me is really fucked up.
Listen, this whole thing kind of mirrors the same idea of prison, life imprisonment. Okay? It's almost like torture. You're saying, or people who say, even late-term abortions are bad. You have to think, what is that child's life going to be like if they're growing up with a family who could give two shits less about them? There's a lot of people out there that treat their kids like shit. They're terrible fucking parents. They've never been given classes on how to give parents or to be parents. Their parents, the grandparents, could never fucking show them how to be parents because they were terrible fucking parents. It's a life of fucking torment and torture for that child. So what
to become another bad parent?
Yeah. So what is the most humane thing? Is the most humane thing to say, you know what? I'm sorry, little one, but I can't guarantee that these people are going to raise you and love you. They clearly don't want you. Let's end your life. Is that... You're giving me a really terrible look.
It sounds bad.
It sounds bad, but when you look at a child's life...
But what about the opportunity for adoption?
There is opportunity for adoption, and there is that percentage. There is, I think, a small percentage of people that are willing and able to adopt. Do I think adoption should be fucking expensive? No. All you're doing is preventing great parents to not be able to adopt a child that's in need. Mm-hmm. So I've adopted 3 children. So
I told you, when my wife and I, before we got pregnant with our first child, my brother-in-law had adopted a little girl. And we thought, maybe that's a good way to start. Let's start with, let's see if we can help somebody out before we even start having our own kids and see what happens. And when we found out it was $45,000, we're like, I guess we can't do that.
Right.
And you had 2 people who were willing to at least try.
Right. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. Are we going to be real? Are we going to be realistic as human beings and look at the situation and go, okay, here's a child molester. Let's just keep fucking paying for him. Let's just keep paying for him for the rest of his life. And I know people are like, well, it's less expensive to pay for his life for the rest of his life than it is for us to push for the death penalty, because he gets to go to court like 9 fucking times or 8 times or whatever it is. Well, change that. Whether you're innocent or guilty, to me, if I was truly innocent but found guilty, I would want you to end my life. I would not want to be butt raped, have my fucking teeth knocked out, have all of my family, or have me think day in and day out that all of my family thinks that I did a terrible, horrendous act. That would be torture to me, whether I'm guilty or not. So I would much rather you have a court hearing, I'm found guilty. Fuck. Walk out, gallows, done. Guilty or innocent. Because it's just as fucking torturous. In my mind, maybe there's people out there that don't think this way, but in my mind, I wouldn't be able to live day in and day out if I was truly innocent, thinking that my kids thought that I killed their mom or that I did whatever horrendous act.
Well, this is a great segue time to get to something a little more fun.
Oh, okay.
What do you think would be the best way to commit suicide?
Oh,
Carbon
that is a fun, uplifting.
Carbon monoxide.
Yeah,
carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide. I've had some conversations with friends of mine, and me and a particular friend of mine have come up with the absolute best way.
All right, wait.
To commit suicide.
All right, hold on a second. You got to save that for a second. You say carbon monoxide. So what you're planning, what you would plan if you had to kill yourself, because we're gonna let Rocky top us. I don't want.
I hope it tops you.
I don't
gas, hose in the tailpipe and into the car and roll the windows up and get a nice buzz on and go to sleep and never wake up.
So let's say the world was ending, in some fucking fashion, and I had to kill off my whole family and myself. I would do the hose into the van. We'd play movies and be like, oh, she's just gonna get sleepy.
Yep.
And we'd watch movies and we'd fall asleep. We all go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Not a big deal.
Rocky, go ahead and top.
Go ahead, do
All
it.
right. In my opinion, this would be the best way to commit suicide. And let's say
This is really bad.
I thought you said this was going to be an uplifting podcast.
I told him today. I said, "Come on over. We'll do a fun, uplifting podcast."
this is the way to
Abortion and
commit
suicide.
and also
ahead.
go out with a bang at the same time.
Oh, shit. All right, go ahead.
You get a plane ticket. You go to New York City, right?
Okay.
And you get to the top of the Empire State Building and you make a scene like, I'm gonna jump. You know, you act like you're gonna jump. Next thing you know, here comes all the news stations, right?
Yeah.
Here come all the news stations. All the cameras are on you. You're the center of attention. Everybody's like, "Oh, there's this guy at the top of the Empire State Building. Let's really, really hope and pray he doesn't jump." Yada yada yada.
So much to live for.
Right? Yeah. All this freaking hoopla.
Bitch,
going
you don't
on
know
about
me.
You are the center of attention on all the mainstream media, right?
Yeah.
Because you're on the top of one of the most famous buildings in the world, threatening to kill yourself. So the cops are looking at you. Everybody's looking at you, and it's a big scene. You disappear for a second. You walk backwards, and you disappear for a second. The media has no clue where you went, but you go into some hidden location. You put on a parachute, and then you run and you jump off. They don't see the parachute. You jump off so fast that they don't notice the parachute. You jump off and they're like, oh my God, he's jumped, he's gonna die. You pull the parachute, 200 feet before you hit the ground, and then all the news crews are like, oh, he had a parachute on, he's fine. And then as soon as you hit the ground and you're safe and sound, you pull a gun out and shoot yourself in the head.
Were you drunk when you did this? That's the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
So when you hit the ground, everybody's like, oh, he's fine. But then, boom, you pull the gun out. And
You're like, shocker.
that would be the most awesome way to commit suicide. And if anybody is, wanting to do it, hey, boom, there you go.
Now, okay, I might want to change up my answer.
Oh.
I'm not going with Rocky. Now that is the most
Bizarre, wacky fucking thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
But now let's get nitty gritty. Okay. Now let's say you are a grandparent. Now let's say you're an established adult or you're a parent of any kind and you're just like, this fucking existence sucks. Mm-hmm. Life would be so much better off without me.
Hey,
easy.
Serious again.
It's so easy.
But how would you do it? How would you do it so that your loved ones don't have to see a fucking mess?
So what you do is you wait till the dead winter and your wife goes to sleep and your kids aren't around very much because hopefully they're grown up and they moved away, and you write a note and you put it in your pocket and you walk out in the fucking woods somewhere in the middle of Iowa in the middle of winter and you sit down and you slowly go to sleep, and when they find you, you'll be long dead. It'll be painless because you'll go numb after a while and you'll be done. Native Americans have done it for forever.
You don't think the parachute in the Empire State Building?
I really like that, but I also like maybe getting a plane ticket to Sweden and going to the red light district. Is the red light district in Sweden?
Sweden? No, you mean Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be talking about you for a long time if you pulled out the Empire State Building parachute deal.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
If I wanted to be infamous.
Remember that one time?
Hey, do you remember that one time that guy who
They'd be
did that?
talking about you for fucking ever, man.
And then he fucking shot himself.
What's up with
we
that?
thought he was fine, and then he pulled out a 9mm.
The crazy part was the police thought he was a terrorist and they shot him on his way down.
Yeah, exactly. I think going to
that would
sleep
ruin
in
the
the
whole
snow
thing.
would be the easiest way to go.
You really think that would be the best? See, I
you would be cold for a
I
little
think I would
while.
just take like a heroin fucking overdose. Just
that could be painful.
On a serious note,
Really?
don't you think, like honestly, don't you think the quickest, most painless way to go would be a bullet in the head?
I don't know.
for sure.
That would turn your lights out immediately. You're done.
for sure.
Watch.
But it's also
Boom, it's over.
but it's also gross. I mean, it's also messy.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you're
you have
thinking-
nothing to do with the aftermath. You're done.
Well, that's what I
Right.
mean. But
I'm just saying,
somebody does.
if you're by yourself, if you're not thinking of anybody,
Well, then
if your kids aren't coming in,
then hanging wouldn't be bad. I don't think, because like you know how fast it is to go to sleep when your jugulars are closed off.
Oh, sure. You just fall asleep.
Yeah, you're like it happens all the time in MMA. You know, guys will just go out because their jugulars are closed off. They're not getting blood to their brain. It doesn't take more than a few seconds.
As I say, it's
I feel like
seconds.
if I keep drinking, I'm not going to get very much blood to my brain.
but for real though, like hanging seems kind of brutal, but it's really not. Like if you just if you drop from the gallows, it might snap your neck and you might die. But even if you did a slow, gradual drop and then you're just sitting there, you'll be out in a few seconds.
Right.
Yeah. And there's really no panic involved. I mean, maybe a little bit. I take that back. Maybe a little bit of panic. It's like being in a triangle choke or a rear naked choke. Yeah, there's a little bit of panic once you get there, but
I've only truly been choked out once in my life, and I didn't see it coming.
There you go.
I didn't see it coming, and there was a guy reached from behind me, grabbed me around the neck, pulled me over the hood of a car, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up, and I smashed my fucking face on the cement because I was face down on the cement, waking up, going, what? Boom. That was it. I mean, you didn't even realize that you were going out.
I was there. I was a bouncer. I watched the bouncer.
Todd was there.
I watched the bouncer choke you out.
But it's so quick, when the jugulars are closed off. I mean, you go out pretty quickly, and if no one's there to wake you up, and you're still getting choked out, I mean, you're gonna die, of course. So
you know what? This is a very odd podcast because I didn't know what we were going to talk about tonight, and we started talking about
this is what happens. This is what happens when we don't plan.
It's a very lighthearted podcast. Hey, I went to a psychic. Let's talk about psychics.
Let's talk about psychics. I want to hear about this.
Have you been to a psychic before?
No, I have not, but my mother has, and I have to hear about it from time to time.
I think psychics are cool.
Okay, so I went to my first experience with a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, went to Denver, went in, and her and her girlfriends, one at a time, went in and talked to the psychic. Now, at one point, one of the girls came out fucking bawling her eyes out. And my wife was like, holy shit, I don't know if I want to go in. Because normally, you would think, oh, you're going to have a wonderful life, and they just fucking blow smoke up your ass.
Because they want you to feel good as you leave. So you come back for more.
This lady told this girl who was bawling her eyes out, you're going to have terrible health. Your boyfriend's going to be a total asshole to you and do some terrible shit to you. Just basically painted her future hellish.
Sure.
It actually turned out. What happened to this girl actually turned out. Now, she told my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, the guy you're with right now, he's the man for you. He's going to propose this Christmas. And then she started telling my wife about her previous boyfriends and what her dad is like. And I mean, fucking nailed it. Just fucking nailed it.
Really?
Yeah. So I pay this psychic, and so then months later, I mean, my girlfriend at the time comes home, tells me all about it, blows me away. Then I call this psychic up and say, for a birthday present, I'd like to pay for a reading for my girlfriend at the time, and or my wife, and so she has this reading, and this psychic goes, "You will have children, but what was it? They'll have to find you. The children will have to find you, or you will have to find the children." It was fucking weird since we can't have kids and we adopted. And then she said...
they found, literally the third one found you.
Yeah.
You were doing respite care and he came into your household. So, that's pretty cool.
And then she said something about your husband is working with an older gentleman right now who he loves. He's very inspirational to your husband. And he's doing something with metal. And my wife at the time was like, that was probably the stupidest fucking thing because it didn't remind me of anything at all. And what my wife didn't know at the time was that I was working with my grandfather on the weekends and telling my wife I was working overtime. And I was going out to my grandfather's place and he was helping me bend metal to weld it up to make a picture for my wife as a surprise, which she didn't know about. So fucking kablow! Craziness. Now, my most recent experience with a psychic was I went to this lady locally, and as soon as I walked in, she goes, "Okay, you were in the military, right? What I'm getting is there's a male presence in the room. He's very loud. He's very angry, and what he's telling you is, don't kill anybody."
Really?
Yes. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Don't kill anybody. This is my psychic reading. Don't kill anybody. Okay, I'm not going to kill anybody. She goes, no, he's serious. He's dead now. And you were very close with him, she said. So immediately I started thinking about all my military buddies that were still in.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, fuck. I need to get on Facebook and see if everybody's okay. It just freaked me the fuck out. And then she's just continually going on and on and on about how this guy killed people in the line of service. He's okay with what he did, but just so you know, those lives of those spirits will be with that person for eternity. And that was my fucking reading. And I haven't been back since. It fucking sucked.
Can you tell us your mom's?
I really don't know much about it.
You tuned her out.
Pretty much. I don't believe in sidekicks at all. I think it's
Sidekicks instead of psychics?
sidekicks. No, I don't. I don't. She's told me a little bit about it, but I can't really remember, and it's just not something that I buy into. So,
How about like, do you like believe in astrology, like the
no,
stars?
no, of course not.
What's your sign?
I don't even know what my sign is.
Oh, shut up!
Come on.
I honestly,
When's your birthday?
I honestly don't know my sign.
When's your birthday?
March 16th.
All right, look it up and give him his horoscope.
Wait, no, I take that back.
No, I forgot what I was bored.
Hold on, no.
I want to see if you know.
Damn
what
it,
you know.
because I know better than this. You're supposed to give somebody your wrong birthday so that way they can be like, that's totally you. Like, oh shit. Tell you what, I gave you my bogus birthday.
What, you did not.
Because you can take any one of them damn things and attribute it to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
It's all bullshit.
But get his horoscope and tell him his horoscope and see if it fucking lands true. You will consider raising
Pisces.
chickens.
No, he already backed out of that deal. Pisces. You're a Pisces.
Great. That means absolutely nothing to me.
Fantastic. You're the fish.
Cool.
All right, your personality is characterized by an intense experimental nature. You meet all of life's matters with passion, and if something strikes you in interest, you will pursue it with all your heart. That is so you.
Oh my God, that's so
This
me.
intensity is greatly appreciated by those closest to you, especially when your devotion is applied to your personal relationships. Lady in the future.
That sounds like me.
Although some people rarely stray away from what is familiar, you love the opportunity to try something new. You will try just about anything, even if it's only for once. God, Rock, they have you pegged.
Yeah.
That could be anybody. That could be fucking anybody. So because I was born in a certain month, the fucking stars said I'm going to be just like that.
The gravity pull of the water.
That's
and the
dumber
earth.
than religion, in my opinion. It really is. The astrology blows my mind that people actually believe in that shit. I mean, and you know what? People seem to believe in astrology more than religion, to be honest.
It's pretty constant.
Yeah.
I think even people who are religious are, know what their sign is and follow that kind of stuff. That's probably true.
So, like, does it work for animals too? If animals are born in certain months, I mean,
He's a very curious pig.
because
He likes to try new things.
I mean, if you look at our evolutionary history, we used to be ape-like creatures. That at what point in our evolution did the astrology start applying to human beings? Or
I think astrology
human
started pretty
ancestors?
early because it was the most constant thing in their lives in the sky. Was the stars that they saw. I think that's why it was so. I think it's holding on from those times of.
So,
oh wait, I've seen this pattern before. This is a constant thing. So if this person's born under these set of signs, they tend to be like this. They could probably still be attributing things that are unrealistic. But I think that's why it might be more popular.
Kind of the neat thing is when you think about all the pyramids and things like that, when they're aligned with stars, and if you think. We don't even know truly when the pyramids were built or when the Sphinx was built, what direction the Sphinx is pointing. Everything kind of rotates around astrology.
how could they not figure that out with carbon dating and all this stuff nowadays? They probably have a pretty good idea.
Well, carbon dating only means like when that rock was created. I mean, right?
So the stone, it would only be able to tell when the stone was.
But you can't really tell when the
That'd be
stone was
millions and
moved
millions
from point A to point B.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
good point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But then you look at the erosion on the Sphinx, and you're like, okay, clearly there was some flood erosion or some rain erosion. When was the last time it rained or flooded like this? Oh, it was thousands of years before they say it was built. Nope. Clearly that wasn't right.
Well, Graham Hancock had a thing on his Facebook page that had the pyramid. There's like 4 different sets of pyramids, all came around the same time. So it was like
The South American pyramids.
the Egypt pyramids.
Oh, they think that they were all created around the same time?
They're all kind of connected.
Like within the 100 years?
Oh, I don't know. It's like Indonesia. There's a couple pyramids in Indonesia. So there's some similarities between all these periods. I don't even know if I'm not sure if they're the same timeline, but the same pyramids are showing up all over the world. It may not be in the same time, but for one person in Egypt to travel to somewhere else and build the same kind of pyramids or have the same ideas, they think is kind of far-fetched.
You know what's also interesting about it? I don't know if you watched The Pyramid Code. It's a series that was on, I can't remember what channel, but it's also on Netflix. And they took some of the figurines that they found in those same exact South American cities where there was those pyramids, right? The figurines were of airplanes. And they took these little, I mean, I'm talking like they're big enough to
They're
fit,
tiny, like almost jewelry.
to fit in your hand, right? They're small. But what they did is they made exact replica.
They scaled it up.
Yeah, scaled
and they put it
up.
in a wind tunnel, and it could actually fly.
And it could actually fly, right? You know, so that
No shit.
that could be possibly, that could possibly be evidence that they had aircraft technology back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And that may, and if they did, that could lend credibility to the idea that these groups of people were communicating with each other.
Well, and I guess the idea that we have lost knowledge, no matter how intense it is not too very far-fetched when you have whole civilizations end for whatever reason. My first thought was like, fuck, if they had planes, we'd have examples of it, but not if they're made out of a biodegradable material that, the knowledge was lost with somebody.
The thing in Egypt was in a tomb, and it was made out of wood, and it was shaped in the form of a bird, but that bird was aerodynamically perfect to fly like a plane.
You're thinking of one example, but the South American example
is
was
made out of gold.
Yeah, exactly.
And they scaled that up, and they put a prop. They scaled it up. They physically scaled this thing up, put a propeller on it, and it fucking flew. They did like an RC fucking thing, and it was the exact same.
Wow.
They just scaled it up.
Same ratios, same everything.
Same everything.
I fucking love this podcast. I always learn something new. This is
You never knew that?
crazy.
You never heard of
it
that?
before, ever.
God
If they had
damn it.
planes back then,
I take
give
it
me
back.
a fucking break.
Well, they had, not to say that they had planes back then, but they had things that
Figurines.
it's really hard to imagine how they did something so perfectly and they didn't grasp the fact that, oh, here's a glider, or here's a plane.
It was called Ancient Aliens. It was the series that I saw.
Oh, and that's a really old series too, isn't it?
No,
Right.
on the Sci-Fi
No?
Channel, Ancient Aliens, you can watch it.
A few years ago.
Oh,
but,
so- okay.
But the information, dates back to
Sure.
the pyramid days.
I'm trying to think of the old shows I used to see on PBS when I was a kid. They'd always have this like creepy Egyptian shows.
But it
about
is
Egypt
pretty
and stuff like
amazing that when they scaled these planes up to size, same ratios. They just take they take the plane and they replicate it at a bigger size.
It's mind-boggling.
It really blows your mind that it actually flies. It has the proportions to make that happen.
It's awesome.
And
That's the
not
coolest
that
thing.
it just kind of flies, but it fucking flies.
It flies
works.
well.
It
flies
flies
very
well. Yeah, the Aztec one flew amazingly well.
And so are
And
they attributing that to like were they extrapolating like an alien species giving technology, or what was their?
They didn't really make any assumptions, but
that's probably good.
My assumption is that perhaps that group of people knew something about flight and how it worked, and maybe they had bigger crafts that actually could carry people. That's my. I don't assume that, but I think it's a possibility.
Well, I think of the crazy shit that happens in this world. That's not very far fetched. You hit the jet stream high enough, and you got 2 or 3 people with you. You fucking fly all over.
Is
the place.
it Chile? Is it South America, or is it Chile, where they have these huge pictures that you could only see from the air?
The animal shapes?
Yeah, there's a spider. There's one looks almost alien or astronaut.
Yeah,
like an astronaut.
They call them they're like a mound kind of thing.
There's one in Ohio,
And there's
snake.
huge runways. There's huge places that are leveled off that would be like airports. It's fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, I didn't know this, but they're one of the largest Native American grouping of people in the United States at one point was right across the river from St. Louis. And I had never heard of it in my life, but they had built a huge plateau there, It was like they were almost undefeated.
Right across from St. Louis?
The city. Yeah, right on the other side of the Missouri River.
It makes sense. Right across the river.
Mississippi River. But yeah, it was an amazing story. I had never heard of it before, and I only saw it because I went down to the Arch and checked that out.
What runways. That's what I was thinking of, runways. Oh, Peru. Peru is where there's a picture of like a monkey and
hummingbird.
Hummingbird.
Yep. Right there. Hummingbird.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the same place.
It's Peru?
Peru. Yeah.
The tree one is awesome.
But the idea that it took somebody that was in a plane to fucking discover those things. Like, how long have they been there the way that they are, where the inhabitants of that area forgot all about it?
Well, look at that. Look
Didn't
at that
know
fish.
anything about it.
Look at that tail, body, eye, fin. So obviously like a whale or something, right?
No, that's a bird. I'm just fucking with you.
You bastard. I thought, I was like, what?
What? A whale?
That's a weird bird.
That's a fucking weird bird. There's a. I mean, when it comes to ancient shit that's really fucking freaky, it sucks that the Library of Alexandria was burnt down. You know how much fucking knowledge was in that.
There's a huge gap. There's one thing that I like about the Game of Thrones right now is that, sorry, not Game of Thrones, Vikings.
Okay.
They kidnapped a priest in the first season. He became part of a family with these Northmen.
Sure.
And then he went back to England, and he's been with the English king for a while.
I haven't seen the second season.
But the king is
Don't
saying,
ruin it.
I won't ruin it. The king says, we are not the first people to be in this castle. The Romans were here before us. They left us all these scrolls, all this stuff. I'd like you, because you were a monk, that
an educated person.
Please take these scrolls and write them into English so we have documentation of it. And I thought, I wonder how many things, just those little things that
how
were
many
lost
times
like
did that happen?
Yeah, and this was just one abbey in one corner of England that the Roman Empire occupied at one point.
And how many scrolls, how many things just turned to dust because there wasn't somebody to translate it, to turn it into something that we could understand?
Well, I mean, then there's part of me too that makes me think that maybe we're not supposed to know. Maybe we have enough to know at this point. What are we missing by not knowing more about what they were talking about or what they did? Was there a reason why we only got so much information? We definitely have lost more than we know.
Or is there, because some conspiracy theorists will think this, is there an organization that wants to keep us in the dark about certain things? If it were to be shown that religion is a fucking joke, it was a complete farce.
Right.
Could you control the masses anymore? Could you steer them in the right way?
Right.
Would we rebel? Would there be suicides at crazy numbers? I mean, so is there somebody trying to keep us in the dark? But our population is so huge. There's nothing in recorded history that could ever that has ever shown that our population has ever been this huge.
Right. And somebody knows something.
Are we getting to a point to where we're just gonna like burn out, and then life pops up 100,000 years from now?
What would make us burn out? It'd be like
so.
some kind of apocalyptic meteor event, like that took
It wouldn't
out
even have to be.
dinosaurs.
It wouldn't even have to be that. I mean, look at how we eat. I mean, all right, not you, because you eat pretty fucking good.
Right.
But look at me.
But you can still stay alive for a long time eating shitty. Look at America, dude.
I know. I've wondered about this because you watch the show. There was a show called 30 Days or Super Size Me. I'm sorry, Super Size Me.
That's great.
And he talks about eating McDonald's only for 30 days. Whatever you eat, you could eat anything you want on the menu, but it has to be off the menu for 30 days. And so
he also made sure he supersized everything every time they offered it. Because there's been a recent thing where a guy lost weight on McDonald's, but he only ate certain things and was very careful about what he ate off of the menu. But it's probably not the most realistic.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Okay. But off that show, his doctors, he regularly got checked out by doctors, different physicians, and it wasn't just one. It was like, I don't know, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
his health went downhill quick,
really quick,
to the point where she's like, "You need to stop this.
You need to stop." And one of the things was your reproductive organs are the first things to shut down. when you have a terrible diet. So I look at myself. I've always eaten shitty. Has my reproductive ability been hindered because I've always eaten shitty? And if everybody nowadays is eating shitty, if the norm is going out to eat,
It's
then
cheaper
our
sometimes.
ability to reproduce, I know our population is huge, but our ability to reproduce, is there more couples adopting nowadays because they physically can't?
I don't know. There's a lot of people still having kids out there.
Sure.
You know, I'm just based on my own life, and I see people having kids all the damn time, you know. It's just I don't think it's to the point where our food is making us infertile, because if that was the case, then what we talked about earlier wouldn't be happening.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Goddamn kids.
You know what? When I heard that just made me sad. That's what it
Well,
did.
yeah, it makes me sad to think. Well, first of all, it makes me sad that anybody is at such a point in their life, and he was older than me, and I'm almost 40, so he's almost 50, I'm sure now. To think you're at this stage in your life, and you fucking hate it.
Right.
You just fucking hate it. Not only do you hate where you work, but you hate everything about your fucking life.
Go potty, Sam Crow.
Is that what it
Oh,
said?
you know what? I can see why people would want to join like communes.
Yeah.
Whether it's like having healthier food that you can control yourself,
Yeah.
or if it's having nobody bother you, you know, so you have your own space, leave me alone, don't tread on me kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's so many aspects of a commune that's so appealing across the board for people. You know, I want the government out of my life as much as possible, so I'm going to do this own thing on my side.
Whole libertarian lifestyle.
I don't want to have, you know, people telling me what kind of food I can and can't eat. So I'm going to grow these food. I'm going to milk these cows and drink the raw milk. Whatever, whatever it is, you can kind of do your own thing under the radar. You know, I'm going to grow a couple pot plants and nobody's going to give me shit about it because they don't know what's in my basement.
You can be a free person, you know, be a libertarian-minded type person and not have people tell you what you can and can't do. That would be nice.
That'd be great.
That would be ideal. But, you know, we live in a country where I think that used to be the norm. But, you know, quickly, I mean, we're talking, you know, just over 200 years, we've gotten to the point where we have a government that tells us what to do with everything.
And you don't think big business and big government are just one and the same?
Oh, I totally think they're one and the same. I completely think they're one and the same. I just truly believe that if government was limited, then big business would have to survive on their own merits, whether or not they're giving us what we want in the marketplace, whether they're able to give, you know, they're a business. So they try to appeal to the consumer's wants and needs and demands, right? If they use government to make it easier for them to make money, that's kind of an immoral and unjust way of making money. But if government wasn't there to help them, they'd have to sink or swim on their own. And what that means is based on how well they give us what we want, how well they are able to serve the consumer's needs. You know,
Wonder if you corner the market. You're the only company that's producing something, or you're the only company that's giving something that somebody needs, or
the only examples of that ever happening is with government help. Yeah, in a truly free market, cornering the market is almost impossible, and I don't know of any examples where it's ever actually happened without government help.
of cornering the market.
Right.
I'd be interested in finding that out.
Because somebody would always come up and, you know, if you're selling something that's above market price, then even the smallest entrepreneur could sell it to you at a much cheaper price and start undercutting you. You know, even if you got, you know, larger than life, and somebody would sell it at a lower price and still make a profit and survive, or people would be motivated to make technology that would make your current technology obsolete. For example, if somebody took total control of all the oil in the world, if that was the case, and they started price gouging, either somebody, I take that back because I said all the oil in the world. So what would happen then is somebody would say, okay, here's an opportunity. Let's try to find a different way to power our stuff,
right?
And make this guy obsolete. You know,
now, have you heard that the Koch brothers are now lobbying state
legislation
to have them put taxes onto renewable energy sources.
Keone?
You what?
Keone Coke?
No, the Coke. Jesus,
Keone and Eric? What are they doing?
Like, what the fuck?
Don't say that. He'll choke me out. I don't want that to
Son of a
happen.
bitch.
I don't want him to choke me. Damn it.
Now, this.
I mean, and there's something that's like, we want you to use oil, so we're going to pay everybody in the legislature to make sure that you tax solar, you tax geothermal, you tax these things, so it's not cheaper to use it.
Well, oil's taxed pretty heavily too. Like most of the $3.70 per gallon that we pay, from what I understand, a big percentage of that is actually taxes.
But
Probably.
not right. But taxes to us, not taxes to the oil companies.
How does oil companies receive tax money? Like
No. I'm just saying when we pay an oil price, that money is not necessarily going to an oil company. It's going. I mean, there's taxes involved in that, which are going to the state, right? Like if you were to,
that's what a tax is. It goes to government, right?
Right. But I'm just saying it's not because. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I thought you were saying that they would go to the oil company.
Well, I mean, then it wouldn't be a tax. It would be just them asking for a price. You know.
Well, you're right. What you said was, well, the oil companies get taxed also pretty heavily. You know,
Well,
look at our prices, and to me, when I go to pay for oil or go to pay for gas, I'm getting taxed by the state, and the majority of the taxes on the oil is because I'm getting penalized by the state to use this oil.
But why? Why are you having to pay the state? Let's say it's 40% of the current gas price is taxes. I think it's somewhere around there. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me. But it's a pretty good percentage,
Right?
You know,
but it's my penalty that I'm paying for whatever reason.
penalty for what? What'd you do to have to pay that penalty?
I don't agree with it, but I'm saying it's not. The oil companies are not being penalized. They're not the ones being heavily taxed. The consumers are being heavily taxed to use that oil.
Any time an essential industry is being quote unquote heavily taxed, they're going to pass it on to the consumer, you know, because they know that people have to pay for it.
But see, I don't think the oil companies aren't being taxed. They aren't being taxed. They're given tax benefits because, in my mind, we don't have any alternatives. I can't go buy an electric car if I'm not going to spend $40,000 on it. So I am being taxed on it because there's no other way for me to go.
When you just that example, that $40,000 electric car, it's not as powerful as what it used to be, because a guy I work with just went out and bought a brand new pickup truck. Now, when I was a child, people could go out and buy brand fucking spanking new vehicles under 10 grand.
Now they're like 40.
And his truck was over 40 grand. Wow. Over 40 grand. Now, some people, that's a house. I mean, that is a mortgage.
You have to take into consideration inflation too. I mean, the value of the dollar has lost quite a bit, you know, in our lifetimes.
That's true.
So,
that's true. Mm-hmm. But the idea of spending 40 fucking grand on a vehicle, and when I said it doesn't, your example doesn't give that powerful of a punch. If regular cars were being sold for 10 grand and your electric car was being sold for 40 grand.
So it's more of a choice then.
Now it's becoming more of a choice.
More reasonable choice.
Right. Because there's Chevy Volts and things like that out there nowadays. But
so, Rock, why are you reading the Bible right now?
Jesus. Great segue.
I'm just going to go right into it. He's in the conversation. He could be part of it.
Why are you reading the Bible?
Yeah. I like to read it because I was brought up as a Catholic. I went to Catholic schools. I went to church every Sunday for the longest time. And, you know, I was a big believer for a very long time. And, you know, through a long, arduous process, my faith eroded, and now I'm an atheist. And one of the main things that helped make me an atheist was actually reading the Bible. And so it's just something that I like to read a little bit at a time. I don't sit down and read, you know, multiple books at a time. There's a lot of books in that Bible. But like every night I try to read, you know, 2 or 3 chapters. And a chapter in the Bible is really not that long. And I just try to keep it fresh in my mind because I find myself having conversations with religious people quite often. And I just like to be able to be very up to date and very knowledgeable on what I'm talking about when I have those conversations. And I come to find out in my experience that And I was exactly like what I'm about to describe. Most Christians actually have never read the Bible, and I think if they did, they probably wouldn't be Christians anymore.
And they've also cherry picked. So they like the parts they like.
But there's some verses in that Bible that are just so black and white and so horrendous that I was almost going to say it's hard to find excuses for it, but I have heard people make excuses for such verses in the Bible. So it's actually all of it's excusable in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and anybody can use it. Hitler was a big follower of the Bible, so
I don't really know for sure, but I bet he never actually read it. To be honest, I mean, honestly, most Christians, if you think about it, most Christians. Have they actually read the damn thing?
Well, I know a lot of newborn.
Well, you
Christians,
and I started to try to read it.
Well, a lot of I think I said newborns, born again Christians. I think it's much more prevalent for reading the Bible. I mean, they're really steeped in it, and they have a lot of guides to walk you through it, especially if you're a baby. If you're baby steps in the faith, you're
just a baby.
But they're not going to sit there and read it from cover to cover. They'll cherry pick the verses that make it sound like a feel good book, and they're going to ignore and totally ignore the verses that say to kill children for being disobedient to their parents. That says that rapists should be forced to marry their raper. I mean, there's just terrible things. In
really?
Yeah.
If you're raped, you should be forced to marry that person.
And then also pay the father for 50 pieces of silver. That would be the price you pay for raping, but you also get to marry the person you raped.
The Bible seems very pro-women.
Are you?
Well, what do you expect when it's written by a bunch of old white men from a long time ago? I mean, what do you expect?
Dude, if it wasn't written by a bunch of old white men.
The King David Bible is written by an old white man in England. Absolutely. And that's the one people follow.
Yeah?
The King David Bible is the most popular Bible out there.
King James?
King James? King David?
Can you put those words on the screen again that say he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about?
I generally just have him running in a loop.
I had a conversation with a coworker
Feels so much better.
Not too long ago about this, and it was I just kind of brought up to this person
King
that,
George,
hey,
his Bible.
This person's a very straight Christian or whatever you want to call it, and I brought up to this person that, hey, there's some pretty terrible things in that Bible that you don't know, that you might not know about, and I brought them up one by one, and this person did not believe me. I said, well, the next morning I woke up and I, gathered some verses and I explicitly said what each verse says. And I encouraged this person to look them up and find out for themselves. I got a reply saying, hey, you're right. This stuff is in there. Wow. And they said that they will go ahead and make it part of their summer reading list to actually read the Bible. And I'm very glad because...
At least know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing to call yourself a Christian. It's another thing to vigorously defend the position of being a Christian without actually having read the Bible in its entirety.
Yeah. To put it in a different light, it would be, I guess, like saying, I love the show Friends. I love the fucking show Friends. Don't say anything bad about the show Friends. Have you ever watched the show Friends? No. But don't say anything bad. I mean, it sounds ridiculous when I say it like that, but when you apply the exact same rules to, so you're a Christian? Yeah, don't say anything fucking bad about being a Christian. Have you ever read the Bible? No.
Yeah.
Well, then what are you doing?
Well, and then you have plenty of examples, and I think Rock has said this to me before. You're in the end zone, or you made a basket, and you're pointing to God. And then why did God give you the opportunity to win your basketball game when God just allowed how many hundreds of people to die on the ferry boat over in Korea that capsized and people were trapped and drowned underneath it? There's a disparity there where it's like, why can the good and the bad?
Well, the priorities are set. Sports trump ferries.
I asked those types of questions to these people I was just kind of referring to, and I said, well,
what was their answer?
Everything happens for a reason. That's what I got.
That's the staple. Answer.
Everything happens for a reason, or God works in mysterious ways, or some such nonsense. It's just
that's a non-answer.
Those typical avoidance phrases that Christians so like to use. Not just Christians, but probably all people who believe in the supernatural so readily like to use in defense of those types of real serious questions.
Right.
You know. And yeah, you're right. It's not a real answer, but it's a response.
It's a response. There you go. It's not an answer. It's a response. Well, I mean, I think that's why we used to get people used to give us shit that we were just babies in the faith when we were looking into Christianity. I just thought, that are you wanting me to not do this? Don't belittle me, because if you want me to be involved and active and you want me to be a part of this, don't make me feel like I'm a dumbass.
Well, I can't say I know 100% why they gave that answer. The reason I feel that they gave us that answer when we had questions, because we would go to Bible study.
And we'd have lists. We would make a list. We'd make lists.
And we'd have questions. We'd do a reading. We'd have questions, because they'd always say, okay, do we have any questions about the reading? Almost always. My hand would go up.
Oh, gosh.
And the typical answer was, you guys are just babies in the faith. You'll get it. Eventually, you'll get it. It'll just when you're not babies in the faith, the answers will come to you.
And now I feel like that response was, you're just not brainwashed enough. Eventually, you'll just fall in line with everybody else, and you'll just say, you know what? It's just all up to faith and all up to God, and I just give it all to God, and it's going to be okay. That's what they're waiting for.
The theory of non-thinking. Don't think too hard.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like I was saying earlier, I went to Catholic schools my entire life. I started having questions as I got older. That there was things that didn't make sense to me, and I started questioning things in my own brain. And some of these things I actually started asking adults in my life if they had a good answer for them. One of which was, like, at a certain point, I realized that there's other religions besides Christianity in the world, and that made me question, if that's the case, then how do we know they're not right?
Right.
How do we know that ours is the one true religion? And, I was so deeply ingrained in it, I just kind of assumed that we were. But knowing that one of the central themes of Christianity says that if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell, it made me think, well, are all these other people who are not born in Christian cultures automatically going to hell?
Right.
Just because they don't believe in Jesus, and they're born at a tremendous disadvantage of ever being able to even hear about him, or if they were able to hear about him, they don't believe because they've been indoctrinated by some other religion.
Right.
So they're from the get-go, because of the location of their birth, which they have no control over, they are at a huge disadvantage to be suffering in hell for all eternity.
Exactly.
Total uphill battle. So those kinds of questions really started coming into my mind, like, middle school, teenage years. And I never got any good answers from the adults in my life. It was just...
How are your parents?
My mom believes in some very unorthodox, some very unconventional type things. She is not like a subscriber of any particular religion. She reads like books that were written by people who claim to have had near-death experiences. Okay. And she believes in a lot of, the word that comes to my mind,
like New Age kind of stuff. I mean,
the word that, it sounds bad, but the word that comes to my mind is nonsense. It's stuff that doesn't. It's wishful thinking type stuff, in my opinion. But they raised me in the Catholic culture, and they were.
But they're not big Catholics anymore.
No, they're not Catholics. Period. I don't think.
And so you just went to a private school. Is that the main reason why?
Yeah, and I went to private school, a Catholic school, and the reason why I did is because my parents also went to Catholic school, and okay. I think that parents typically think, well, I did this. I turned out good.
It worked for me.
Exactly.
Sure.
And I wouldn't change the fact that I went to a Catholic school, but looking back, I do see that I was indoctrinated from a very early age into believing certain things about the world. I'm talking like 3 or 4 years old. And my parents didn't teach me none of this stuff. It was all school. But the school they chose to send me to.
Yeah.
And paid money to send me to.
When I remember Junior asking me that, I was at a Bible study. Mm-hmm. I was helping do the youth group. Mm-hmm. I took Junior with me one time, and driving home, he asked me about, so Dad, if I don't do what they're asking me to do, I'm going to go to hell? And I think that was kind of like one of the final nails in the coffin for my whole
I remember you telling me about that.
down that road. I was just going, you know what? I mean, can you think, from the mouth of babes, here you go, Dad. Here's some reality slapped in your face.
I know I'm not a bad person. I know I'm not a bad person. Why are they telling me that I need to feel bad about being a bad person when I'm not a bad person?
And so what I was enjoying of the church, which was the fellowship and the friendships that I have, that trumped it. I was like, okay, I can have friends and I can have fellowship with other people, and I don't have to necessarily be part of this way of thinking.
Me and my buddy, Jared Demonized Downing, were having this conversation just yesterday or the day before at my house. And one really positive thing that church offers people is a sense of community and a sense of fellowship. And people don't necessarily need to believe in batshit crazy stuff to have fellowship and brotherhood and community. It's just too bad that religion seems to be the only thing that offers that.
Right.
Too bad that there's not like a secular option for people to come together and congregate.
That's what bars are for, isn't it?
I suppose. But it gave us the idea of actually trying to start something like that.
Like a community?
Yeah, like a community that maybe doesn't meet every week, but just, comes together from time to time, talked about what's going on in each other's life. The great thing about church communities is, let's say somebody unexpectedly gets cancer, people will come together and donate and help that person. That's a great side effect of believing in religion, because you come together and you help each other out. But people do that anyway.
Right.
It just seems like there's no option B, no secular option for people to come together and help each other. Yeah, exactly. But, that's not to say that can't happen.
Right.
So,
there's a really, I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, but Elaine DeBotton, he gives a speech on TED.com. It's called Atheism 2.0, and he's an atheist, and he talks about what are the aspects of religion that make religion so great that we should adopt into our own lives for different reasons.
Community is probably one of them.
Community is one of them, but also having a ritualistic type of behavior, determining what's important in your life. What do you want to remind yourself? How do you want to remind yourself to be? And turning that into a ritualistic behavior. He goes, when you go to church, or when you're heavily into the church, they tell you when to pray, what to pray, how to think, how many times should you touch your rosary. There's a whole ritualistic thing, and it reminds you to act in a certain way, or to believe in a certain way, or to make certain things a priority in your life. And he said there's some very positive attributes that we can take from religion. Even if you're an atheist, you can look at religion and say, okay, this is an amazing thing that I should really indoctrinate myself in this certain way of thinking, not necessarily believe in the writings of Christ or the writings of King George, or whoever you said, King James? George? James?
I said James.
It was a canon.
I said George. James is correct.
Okay. Not necessarily believing in that, but taking that type of, it's just taking that type of manipulation, looking at what manipulates the human.
Manipulating yourself.
Yeah. How can you manipulate yourself the best way? You decide what's important to you, and then you take these things that religion has had its thumb on, it knew all about for so many centuries.
Right.
And now apply it to you.
Well, the bigger thing for me for religion is, especially Christianity, is how much of it of pagan, quote unquote, pagan religions have been absorbed into Christianity. Mm-hmm. To me, Christianity, that's why I could never, ever believe in the Bible, because so much of what Christianity is are pulled from pieces of pagan or non-believers' way of doing things to try to get that population to come into their folds.
When you say pagan, for those people at home who are listening or watching this right now, and they don't understand pagan religion, and if they hear pagan religion, they all of a sudden think fucking goat horns and the devil. Pagan religion, and correct me if I'm wrong, it all that means is it's not Christian.
Right. It's not Christianity.
It could be the worship of trees. It doesn't mean I'm eating your fucking soul or your heart or...
Right, but they have done a fantastic job of making sure the word pagan makes you think just that. I think when I think pagan, I think of the horns and the tree and the half a goat, half man kind of thing. That's what I think of, even though I know it's not true. That's what I think of. I think of it as being a devil-like thing or an evil thing. So I mean,
right, but there's a lot of things in the Christian religion that come from pagan religions that have nothing to do with the devil.
Yeah.
Like what?
The devil. I don't think the devil exists, but here's something that somebody pointed out to me one time that's kind of interesting. If you read the Bible in its totality, God kills millions, and I think the devil kills like 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if all the genocides from the Old Testament and everything that God commands to have happened and all that stuff.
The firstborn,
like
of
all the terrible, all that terrible shit, you know.
All right, now this is gonna flip. Some Christians are gonna be watching this, and they're gonna be listening to it, and they're gonna be like, okay, I'm with you so far. I'm with you so far.
Now I'm
fucking gone. I'm out of here.
Let's think about Noah's Ark for a second.
What I was gonna ask was, what if it was flip flopped? What if, like what you just said, God has killed millions, and in the Bible, the devil only killed 3. What if the bad guy really is God? What if the good guy really is?
Think about Noah's Ark. Think about Noah's Ark. I mean, Hitler tried to exterminate a certain group of people. The story of Noah's Ark, God kills everybody except for like 9 or 12 people. You know, everybody's got to die. All women, all children. You know, nobody's judged individually. Everybody's got to go, including the animals, including the bugs, including the kids. Everybody. You're all dead. You know, you gotta,
how can all the animals be sinners?
Yeah.
If they don't have
slate,
souls.
man. Gotta start over. Clean slate.
Clean slate. And that, you know, honestly, it's things like that. It's stories like the flood that have been scientifically proven that there was a cataclysm.
Sure.
It's stories like that make me think of ancient aliens. Yeah. It's so much more plausible for me to believe that another life form came to this earth, just like what we're trying to do with Mars. We're trying to go to another planet.
Right.
So why is it so unthinkable for another life form to come to this planet and say, holy fuck, they got some animals on here. We know how to do some gene splicing because we're doing gene splicing. I mean, what I'm about to say is not far off from what we are currently fucking with. And I'm not saying it's ethical or unethical, but it's not as so far removed to think that somebody could have come, a life form could have come to this planet like the old Sumerian Gilgamesh type fucking stories and said, okay, we need a certain ore. We need something, a mineral from this planet. We don't really want to mine it, but we have an animal over here that we could manipulate so that that animal mines it for us.
What you're describing is actually much more likely than any religious story because you're dealing in the actual real world.
Right. Yeah.
Aliens, you know, you're talking about something that is terrestrial, like of this universe.
Sure.
Not of another realm, like, you know, religion claims like supernatural beings and things like that. So what you're saying, it's more plausible than, you know, the stories or the myths from any religious books.
Now,
especially when religious books are all very similar. I mean, many religions have a Noah of sorts. Many of them have a Messiah of sorts. They all have a Genesis, and they all have an Armageddon. They all have the same elements in them: a creation story and an end. I mean,
plenty of them.
Yeah, most of them do.
The thing I was going to get at is in this story, if you were to go with the Anunnaki, if you were to go with the Sumerian culture, and they say if another life form came to this planet and another life form manipulated the species of this earth to do the mining or whatever for them, the hard burden physical labor for them, and then because they've done gene therapy or manipulation of our genes, so where we start saying, fighting back and saying, you know what, we don't want to fucking be in the mines anymore. And the aliens were like, oh shit, these life forms from another planet were like, oh shit, you know what? Let's teach them a lesson. We're so superior. Maybe we could make it flood and just fucking wipe these fuckers out and say, all right, now are you going to follow us? We told you what to do.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a big flood. It could be like, if you lived in a small village.
Dude, I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We had a flood.
Right. And
if that's all I knew.
That's all you know. It's cataclysmal.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a great YouTube video, and I'll put that in the description. And we have talked about this before, but Everything You Know Is Wrong is the name of the YouTube video. And let me see if I can pull it up really quick so I can give you the person's name.
The book name that too. There's multiple volumes, I believe.
No is wrong. And this guy who does the presentation also talks about the Star Child skull. God, I was thinking it was Kyle something. It's not coming up right now. God damn it.
Dead Space.
It happens. God damn it. I'm just trying to look it up. I should have went to YouTube. Okay. Here we go. Lloyd Pye. LLOYDPYE. It's about an hour and 18 minutes, his presentation. And there's two things that I took away from this. One, holy fuck, this is pretty compelling. And two, holy fuck, anybody who is a good speaker can make me believe almost anything. That's kind of the crazy thing, because we are easily manipulated depending on who's doing the talking. If you have a really charismatic fucking person, you will believe that if for only $9.95 a month, if I tithe this, I will be saved. I mean, there's people giving hundreds or thousands of dollars away every week because there's somebody that has that charisma, you know?
And you wonder why, you wonder why people can be such sheeps. And then you think of all the other things that we get involved in every day. But to see some guy on TV, to not be able to see through it, sometimes I'm just kind of like going, wow, these people really must really need something in their life. They must be missing something in their lives to have this guy with a horrible toupee.
Well, it's called education. It's called education.
You think so?
Critical thinking is, for most people, I believe, is not something that's innate. It's something that you need to learn. You need to be taught how to do or discover on your own, read a book about critical thinking, whatever. Because, and Richard Dawkins explains this better than I can ever explain it, human beings were evolved to avoid predators on the plains of Africa.
Right.
Our brains are wired to do those types of jobs, not to think critically, not to understand physics, not to understand.
So to survive.
Yeah, to survive. And, our brains are still in that state where we evolved to have those survival tendencies, but not to understand or these deep, complex issues or to think in critical ways. It takes intentionality to train yourself to think in certain ways. So I think our natural state is just to be easily manipulated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good theory.
And on that note, give to the Primal Scream Podcast. What you want to do right now is you want to hit that donate button on our website, theprimalscream.org. There's a button called donate. Hit it. Click it. Don't give everything you got.
We'll give you salvation. The three of us will make sure you're taken care of forever.
No, how about this? How about if you were entertained and you'd like to see the program grow? You wanted to have better cameras or better lighting, or how about we do more special effects or have a traveling podcast? We're going to be going to Tough Mudder.
Tough Mudder next weekend.
Oh, God.
I know you're nervous. I can't fucking
wait. Fucking scared.
Oh, I can't wait. Why be scared? You can do everything that's in there.
You're right. I can.
Yeah.
If I was properly prepared.
You are capable of doing it.
You are capable.
All I got to do is mentally focus and believe. I'm going to create my own reality. It is the truth, the secret.
And hundreds of people, smaller, stronger, bigger, fatter, whatever, have all done it.
You know, I remember running the Warrior Dash, and there was a woman this wide in front of me. And I thought to myself, I cannot finish behind her.
Yeah.
And
literally,
now
you might not have been able to, but
as long as I finish, I don't care.
There's a big difference between a 5K and a 10 to 12 mile run. Yeah.
See, now you're only...
But remember, it's not a full run. You're doing a lot of shit in between.
That's true.
So, I mean, in one part, you're walking with logs on your shoulder. Come on.
So I know we were downing on religion lap, but pray for me.
I'll be talking to God on next Saturday.
I'll be talking to God next Saturday. And we'll be doing a live podcast from... it's not Chicago, but it's by Chicago.
Richmond, Illinois.
At the Tough Mudder, 2014.
Our first media event.
Yeah, we got media passes.
What do you think about that, Rocky?
I did not know this.
You came into this. We had crazy, silly microphones up on my kitchen table upstairs.
Yeah, I remember.
Back in the day.
Now you guys are big time.
When shit was raw.
Shit, don't say that. We're not big time.
Oh,
yeah.
Compared to your humble beginnings.
It's evolved, hasn't it?
It sure has.
When we have the relaunch in September, and we have new new information, new websites, new logos, things like that. That to me is when I'll be like, awesome. I'd actually see a change within a year from point A to point B is going to be a huge change.
Getting to a point doing anything when you get to a point where you're delegating. It's become larger than you can handle.
Yeah. And I've also recognized myself, as scared as I am at times about it, that it's the risk and it's me needing to challenge myself, saying, you believe in something, you got to fucking push it and stick to it.
YOLO.
You only live once.
That's it. I'm out.
I know you don't like that. I know you don't like that phrase, but you know what? YOLO.
I think you're mocking when you say it, though. You don't say it to you don't be like YOLO like you fucking believe it. You say YOLO just to give me a hard time.
No, I think he really does mean it, but he says it also.
You really believe it?
I do believe it because
you only live once.
You only live once. Why bottle yourself up? Why put a cap on
I'd much rather
yourself,
you say you only live once. But it's YOLO that bothers me. Why does that bother me? It's an acronym and it just
because it's trendy and it bothers you.
Because Kim Kardashian fucking says it all the time. That's why it bothers me.
But you know what? Yeah, it's
I thought I was the only one that was offended by Kim Kardashian.
She has a nice bottom, though.
You don't even have to say that. She doesn't. You know what? She really doesn't.
But it's so true.
It's enormous.
You really do only live once.
Absolutely right.
And if you don't take some risks and you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to.
James Franco was on
From the Mouth of Babes.
James Franco was on Howard Stern this week, and I just caught part of it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said is like, because he's got his doctorate now. He's written a book of poetry. He wrote a book. It's turned into a movie. He does all this shit. People give him a hard time for it.
James Franco?
Yeah, and he goes, I'm only here for a small amount of time. Isn't this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is living my life and accomplishing all the things I want to accomplish, or at least trying all the things that I'd like to try? What else am I doing here?
And the way to sum that up, YOLO. It's so
the way you
true.
sum that up is you only live once.
Yeah, boom.
La 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 la. No more YOLO la la.
So that's what's going on. That's what's going to be happening next week. Next weekend is the Tough Mudder with Denise Stapley and Malcolm from Survivor Philippines.
Yeah, and also if you know somebody who you think would be a good sponsor for us, shoot us an email, comment on Facebook or on YouTube, and let us know somebody who you think might be somebody who would enjoy wanting to sponsor a crazy fucking thing like this is.
And even if it's not sponsored, but if you know somebody that is articulate, is funny, has a unique point of view, or would love to get his or her message out about something, we'd love to have them on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's all about content. It's all about enjoying something. It's all about learning something. Every time Rocky's on, I learn a little something.
And we have fun.
So. And I get to relive all my terrible born-again Christian stories in my head.
Remember, they're not terrible. We learned from them. We're better. And you changed as a person too. You gave it. Yeah.
You know what I said the other day? I said the other day. I said I was in a born again Christian thing and I got baptized again for the second time. And they go, I was telling this to people at work, and they go, "Oh, really? You were baptized?" And I go, "Yeah." There was a big whirlpool, but the minister told me to take off all my clothes and put on this really thin white gown, and then he dunked me, and then I stood up in front of everybody, and I just felt really naked. This older lady that works with me goes, I wish I would have been there. I go, yeah, the gown didn't close in the back. It was really uncomfortable.
Plumber show.
Yeah. Anyway.
Rock, thank you once again.
Thanks, buddy.
Always a pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Love having you on.
So follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, website, theprimalscream.org. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And I'm Rock.
We'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.
Bye.